Factz with Adam Curry for September 5th, 2020. This is episode number 48. And there he is once again, the man with the golden voice, Moe Factz. Mo, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Adam. How about yourself?
Well, it's been a crazy 2 weeks. First of all, I'm glad we're back together. We skipped an entire week. You were down the rabbit hole, which we'll get to in a moment. But I think Monday or Tuesday, my interview with Joe Rogan comes out, and either I'm going to sound like the biggest nut job in the world, or maybe I got to spit some Moe Factz. We'll find out. There was a lot of substances involved. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm waiting like everybody else for it to drop.
Well, I can give you. I can tell you what. One thing that did happen is I'm like, well, me and my buddy Moe Factz, and he says, wait a minute. Your friend's name is really that? I said, yeah, Mo. He says, Mo what? I said, Maurice, Mo. He goes, Moe Factz? That's his name? I said, yeah, it's this MoeFactz.com.
Plug life.
Yeah, living the big plug life. So we'll see. And based on, I think, our producers who support this show, who, of course, since we've been gone for 2 weeks, we'll be thanking them in two different segments because the support has been phenomenal. I got a DM this morning from Hotep Jesus. And he says,
really?
Yeah, he says, you need to come on the show. Can you come, I think, September 25th? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. And I sent him a link to MoeFactz.com. He says, oh, yeah. He says, oh, yeah. What did he say? I don't want to misquote him. But I think it was something like dope. I've heard good things about it. So he said he was going to listen. How about that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So,
that great Twitter feed, man. That great Twitter feed of yours.
Very gray. Very, very gray. One more thing before we get started with stuff for today. NoAgendaMeetups.com is where producers of the No Agenda show organize meeting up together. And they're starting to combine meetups because there's such a heavy crossover between the No Agenda tribe and the Moe Factz tribe in so many different aspects. And apparently there was the second Moe Agenda meetup, and I believe this is from Michigan.
Hey, Adam and Mo. We got a dozen people here in Michigan celebrating our second Moe Factz meetup after the Chick-fil-A one in February. Tonight was Popeyes. We love them both. And we just wanted to remind everybody that
pay attention to everything, and the truth will reveal itself.
How cool is that? That's nice, man. Well, I guess you can organize a Moe Factz or a Moe Agenda meetup at NoAgendaMeetups.com. Very cool. Thank you so much, guys. All right, Mo, what are we doing? What else we have here? I got all kinds of stuff. What?
Wait a minute. I have a couple of things on my list I got to get off there before we get into it.
Okay.
And it's cause for celebration.
Oh, whoa.
Celebration. Come on. It's a celebration. Celebration.
What are we doing? What are we doing, Mo? I'm blowing the horns. What's going on?
Happy birthday to two of my favorite people, one being you.
Aww.
You just celebrated a birthday.
Yes, I did. September 3rd. Thank you.
And the other one is to our only fan, Uncle Richard.
Oh,
he had a birthday on the 4th.
Another fine Virgo man like myself. Very nice. All right, Uncle Richard. All right, cool. Very cool. Oh, you know what that means? You know what this has started? Well, you start with this. Before you know it, we've got a birthday list. It's the funniest thing.
We could consider that.
Yeah, we could.
The best gift I could think to give Uncle Richard, our only fan, is for you to spin that wheel.
All right. For Uncle Richard, we are going to do the one thing that only really matters. It's the thing that we need to do every single show, because what is the topic for today? Nobody knows. But when we hit that wheel of topics, round and round it goes, we find out what we're going to talk about today. Maybe Mo knows. We'll find out. The topic for Moe Factz with Adam Curry 48 is...
black on black crime.
Okay, it's something light for today's topic. Nice. All right. Okay.
Everybody take cover.
Whew, deep breath. This will be interesting. Yeah.
This is why it took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it literally took 2 weeks. Up until the last minute, rearranging clips.
Oh, man.
Taking clips out. Because as you know, this is the third rail in racial / politics conversation.
Yeah, and it's something that, to be honest, well, I really, of course, I look forward to episodes like this because this is where I get to learn an incredible amount. But just from a white American perspective, what is often said is, as it pertains to some news report, well, nobody talks about 50 people in Chicago, black on black crime. And how'd I do the voice? Was that pretty good? And I've done it myself.
The exact statement is, what about Chicago?
Yeah.
What about black on black crime?
What about Chicago? Yeah. And yeah, of course. And can I ask you right off the bat, since that's what we do, when you hear someone like me say that, well, what about Chicago? Does that trigger anything? Do you think, is it something that comes up in your mind when you hear it?
It can come across as a cop-out because you don't want to talk about what the topic was on.
Okay.
And 2, it's a non-starter. Put that on the list of non-starters. If you're going to come at the angle of counterbalancing police violence and, police brutality, counterbalancing with black on black crime, the 2 things need to be discussed, independently of each other. They're both a problem. One being larger than the other, and surprise, surprise, it being black on black crime is the bigger problem by far. But I would say this: oftentimes when it's brought up disingenuously and to deflect from a conversation somebody really doesn't want to have on the topic that's brought up.
Well, the way that I might have used it in the past would be. It's interesting you say that. Yeah, in a way to deflect. Hold on a second. Let me just collect my thought. No, that's interesting because it would probably be someone saying, well, I think you're right. It would be white cops killing, blacks. And then it would be, well, there's only been 9 this year. And then, what about Chicago? Yeah, okay. It's a deflection because I think that there's no willingness to actually discuss. I think it's okay. Here we go. From my perspective, because there never seems to be a willingness to discuss the actual numbers just as a statistic, because the claim from white cops killing black men is disproportionate to black on black. But the conversation usually goes to, well, they only represent this portion of the population, so it should be that, but they represent 80%. I mean, it's all these fucking numbers.
FBI crime stats.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to the FBI crime stats say, so we're not going to use any FBI crime stats.
All right.
And you asked me a question, I want to answer it. When I hear, what about black on black crime? What about Chicago?
Yeah.
We know the Factz law, the Moe Factz law or rule that every racial conversation eventually devolves to Chicago. But
it's like Hitler on white forums. Everything in black forums goes to Chicago. I got you.
To Chicago. But when I hear that is the way I could hear it, but I dissect things myself personally, but the way I could hear it is, what's one more dead black guy? I mean, y'all killing them by the dozen. What's one more? I mean, so.
I get it. I get like Chicago, and then what's 9 more? What's your problem? Oh shit. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, that's a good point.
So that's why
a good point.
This is why we have these conversations, so we can demystify and really get to the root of the problem.
Yeah,
and it's multiple problems with this topic. But since we brought up the mecca of black on black crime, as the media will have it, let's get right into fighting to stop Chicago's gang killings.
Chicago making international headlines this morning after a violent and bloody 4th of July weekend.
More than 100 people were shot since Friday. 14 of them are dead.
Shootings and violent crime have skyrocketed in Chicago.
For decades, Chicago has struggled to shake off its reputation for gun violence. while 2014 saw the murder rate fall to its lowest in more than 40 years. Since then, there's been a worrying increase. In 2016, 762 people were killed in the city, the most since 1996. On the campaign trail, Donald Trump repeatedly lambasted the city.
Look at Chicago. What the hell is going on in Chicago?
And in June, he announced a federal task force would be sent to assist Chicago police. I've come to Chicago to spend time with grassroots organisers who work in some of the city's most dangerous neighbourhoods, trying to stop the violence.
Okay, we are indeed at ground zero.
So this is Adam Gabbett from The Guardian. And a couple of points I want to make in his statement was in 2014, the murder rate had fallen to its lowest level in 40 years. So we got to put we have to put these things in perspective. Is Chicago violence a problem? Of course. Is it a huge problem compared to the 80s and 90s? Or even if you go back 40 years, Not at all. New York, Chicago, DC used to have, almost double the violence that they have now. Well, it's trending back up, but we have to put these numbers into perspective.
Why do you think the the murder rate has gone up over the past 2 years?
It's no structure. See, it used to be organizations where a few guys at the top, they called everything, sanctioned it or whatever. But nowadays, you got cliques, crews, and they might all have know each other, grew up together and everything. But now they just, they just they warring. They trying to make a name for themselves. The communities they come up in, they can't get no jobs, nothing to do. So they just violent, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is U.S. from he's an outreach worker from Ceasefire. And he's just speaking to the really decentralization of these gang structures. And that's what's really causing the uptick that you're seeing now.
What do you mean the decentralization? Can you explain that?
Well, before it used to be like militaristic, where you had a commander-in-chief, generals, lieutenants, that kind of thing, and it was very organized, structured. Now it's more of there is no rank.
Oh, it's more.
Their rank's still there, but it's
more like a flat hierarchy now,
or a feudal system.
Feudal system, okay.
Where you have where you have these pockets of power, and before you had to earn your way up. Now it's like, I'm willing to take you out now at 14, 15 years old. I want my respect now. Which we have to look at. Maybe this is a microcosm of the breakdown in the home, and no leadership, no patriarchy in the home.
There's not even understanding of what a hierarchy or patriarchy is anymore, perhaps.
Right. And it's dissolved in the streets.
Yeah.
The men are, even sad to say, the male-led structure, even in street gangs, is not there. And I'm going to say something now. I need to say it now. I am not anti-organized crime, because I am not a person that, I'm not naive. Crime is going to exist in society and civilization. I think when you have organized crime, when it's done properly, it keeps from it affecting the civilians. You don't get random people shot on the street. You don't get children scared to walk up and down the street. Because in every society, and this goes back to the black on black crime thing, in every society there's crime. In every society there's organized crime. But you don't see dead children of other ethnicities in their communities and on their streets, like you do see in black and more, and probably brown as well, but not as to the extent as black.
Okay, so
I just want to lay that out there.
So in this case, you're referring specifically to black gangs being organized crime, because we can't be against organized crime, otherwise all politicians would have to go, because that's the biggest criminal organization there is. But if I understand what you're saying, because the lack of organized crime in these gangs is actually much worse than it would have to be if there was a leadership structure and there was actually a leader that you could talk to, and we could have leaders figuring stuff out. You mean like that?
Exactly. And I'm not pro organized crime. I know it's a necessary evil because crime, vice, alcohol, not now, but even in the early parts of America, alcohol, gambling, prostitution, these things are realities. Mm-hmm. So are you going to have structure to that reality or no? Because it's going to exist. Right. And I think what we're seeing now in this modern day, quote unquote, black community and black on black crime is the decentralization. It's kind of like when you take out a Osama bin Laden or Saddam Hussein. Now you have 8 warlords. Yeah, a vacuum. Fighting. Exactly. A vacuum would just filled up by a whole bunch of people. Yeah, I got you. Okay, clear. That's what you're seeing now. So that's where we're at. So next we have Corey Brooks, and he's the executive director of Project Hood, another organization that's trying to help out Chicago.
What people I spoke to really want is more funding for community projects, but getting that money can be difficult. Project Hood is a non-profit funded by donations. It gives hands-on training in professions like carpentry and business to young people who have been caught up in gang life and want a way out.
Trump has spoken about Chicago in pretty strong terms. Carnage, inner city violence. Does he have a point when he talks about needing to send in the feds?
Absolutely not. The feds are not what we need. Job creation is what we need. That's the reason why we're building this facility. We don't want you to come and give us your government paycheck or your government food stamps. No, we want to create people that want jobs and help people get jobs. That's what sustains people, and that's what creates family. And if we can get a president to do that, I believe that the direction of our communities can change drastically.
That was interesting because I don't think he answered the question. I understand his answer, of course, but the question was bring in more feds, which I think meant more police officers. And the guy said, no, we need jobs and stuff that Trump is giving us. I think that's what he was saying.
And Mr. Adam Gabbett was very deceptive in the way he conflated 2 questions. Mm-hmm. One was Trump's rhetoric about, carnage and violence and those things of nature of that street, and then he conflates it with his statement about bringing in the feds. Exactly. So it's a very tricky question if you listen to how he asked it.
Well, it's from the BBC. Yeah, we know the Brits are racist, Mo. I mean, this is nothing new.
Of course. And probably WASP too. I mean, look at it that way. Of course. From the last show. Yeah. But if you look at it, the question, of course, he agrees that there's carnage on the streets and there's violence, or he wouldn't be putting together these projects. Right. But I do agree bringing in the feds is not the right solution to the problem. Bringing in federal aid, federal programs, job programs, reinstating family. These are the kind of things what he was saying. But there is a county commissioner named Richard Boykins that has another solution for Cook County.
Far too common in Chicago. Police investigating a shooting here.
And heavily armed United Nations peacekeepers operating in some of the most dangerous corners of the earth. Now there's a push to bring them here. Good evening. I'm Rob Johnson.
And I'm Erica Sargent. A Cook County commissioner wants to get the peacekeepers to Chicago to battle our violence problem.
But it would be an unusual move. Consider this from a UN promotional video. Peacekeepers often operate in hostile environments where others cannot or will not go.
CBS 2 political reporter Derek Blakely picks up our story.
They've helped stop the fighting in war-torn hotspots across the globe, from Syria to Sierra Leone. Now a Cook County commissioner is appealing for UN peacekeepers in Chicago's crime-ridden neighborhoods.
I know that there are those who say that this is an admission that we can't protect the people in the city, but quite frankly, we haven't protected them.
But one West Side alderman whose ward is plagued by violence rejects the military analogy.
This is not war. I mean, we may have some daunting statistics, but again, military intervention is not the answer.
Alderman Irvin says it's an economic intervention, not a military one, that's needed to stop Chicago's violence.
First of all, I remember this story and I remember laughing about it, like, what the hell is this? But now, actually, in context of what you said at the beginning of the show, if the numbers were twice as bad in the 70s, 80s, and they came down, and
definitely 80s, 90s, yeah,
right,
definitely 80s, 90s,
and so they've come down, by half, and now they're trending upward. Then, of course, they're never good. What did they do? Is my question. What were they doing previously that seemed to be working? Is there something that we can point to, or was it something that
it's the Giuliani tactics?
Well, that was pretty much. Well, that was Bratton. That was the chief of police, and he came in and cracked heads, as far as I know.
Right. We're not going to say that the crime bill didn't clean up the streets, because, of course, we got millions of
Giuliani and Bratton was before the crime bill. That was in the 80s.
I'm saying is that the change from the rehabilitation, because even Biden's rhetoric started before the crime bill.
Right.
It was I think it was. What is his name?
But I'm just saying, Manhattan had changed significantly by 1989, 1990. It was already really changed way before the
right. That was when the Democrats started saying we're past rehabilitation. Rockefeller, I believe it was. They said we're past rehabilitation. The Democrats got really strong on crime. That started in the really early to mid 80s. And then it just worked its way up to the crime bill. But the mentality was lock up everybody. And that's what the Congressional Black Caucus was calling for. And honestly, that's what the citizens were calling for, was to clean up our streets. Right. Now, cleaning up our streets doesn't mean lock up everybody in the neighborhood either.
Or bring in the UN peacekeepers.
Kind of nuance.
UN peacekeepers is maybe a little bit overblown.
And I'm glad you got to that point, because if people really back up here and take a step back and look what we're seeing here, we're having this super predator narrative revive.
Oh, Lil Yummy coming back.
It's coming right back. And it worked. I mean, look at who's running for office. I mean, to be honest with you, you have
that is a deja vu, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. And it's weird, because I wanted to. I had texted you. Who was it in the big article? Was it Yummy? I couldn't remember Lil Yummy, because I wanted to bring it up on Joe to explain how the math models, kind of like the climate change, or God forbid, the coronavirus models, had miscalculated the danger of the quote unquote super predator, but that it was taken for science. Science is right. And then, we're still living with the crap from today. Maybe he's trying to, maybe it's just a redo. They figured all that shit out. We should do it again.
Yeah. And this is not only limited to Chicago. I mean, when I'm talking about black on black crime, this is a problem in any pocket in America that has high so-called or quote unquote black populations, as we are here in Black on Black Crime Part 1.1.
Black on black crime. You can find it in almost any major city like Chicago, New York, or L.A. But Chattanooga is nowhere near the size, nor has the population of those cities. Yet violent crimes by African Americans against each other in Chattanooga, it's just as bad. In part one of his special report, Eric Avenier takes a deep look into black on black crime and its effect on the African American community. He joins us live in the studio to explain. Eric.
Well, as journalists, it's our job to report what's happening in our community. And unfortunately, we find ourselves covering black on black violence almost every other day. Now, before we begin, you need to know that in this report we're about to show you, it is very raw and emotional, with language that some viewers may find offensive.
Trigger warning.
Crime scenes like this one play out almost every week in Chattanooga, and the story is usually the same. A disagreement between two black men or a group of African Americans that leads to violence. Some of the victims live, others die. No one knows this better than Celeste Woods. You see, 9 years ago, her son Damon was shot to death in this East Chattanooga neighborhood. She says she'll never forget that horrible night.
And the next thing I know, I was getting a phone call and said, Damon has been shot, and could you come? And this is the area that I came to, out here. And when I came, there he was, the rope was taped around, and he was lying face down in the street.
To add insult to injury, Damon died on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a day most Americans celebrate a man who stood for nonviolence.
All right, Mo, before you deconstruct it for us, what station did this? What outfit did this this package.
WDEF News 12 Chattanooga, source for local news that's local, quick to the point.
Incredibly disgusting to me the way they start off with saying, okay, seriously, this was a mind control thing in what you would call trauma-based entertainment, as far as I'm concerned. The music track that went from some recognizable song. What song was that? What was the track? I think I recognize it. It's not like some crazy old track.
It was just like a typical quote-unquote gangster music.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was just
it doesn't matter.
I mean, it sounds like
gangster
a Dr. Dre
music,
beat, but yeah.
And then we went into some, mama comes in, and holy crap, that was mind control. That's all I wanted to say. That was quite disgusting.
Yeah, they had the sad chords. I mean, cause with chords, everybody knows that knows music can invoke emotion. Of
course.
So they hit you with the sad strings.
That wasn't news.
Then put the sad black mama on TV.
It wasn't news, that's for sure. That was programming.
But if I said to you, Chattanooga, you wouldn't say to me, black on black crime. I mean,
no, I say, pardon me, boy. Is that the cat that shit on your shoe? Yeah, that's what I say. Sorry.
So this lets you know that it's widespread.
Yeah.
Even not, they want to make it like it's this urban problem. No, it's widespread, and that lets you know wherever a shared mentality or what you want to call culture is, that we have this same systemic problem. So with that said, we can get into 1.2.
The shooting death of her son was the result of an earlier altercation with this man, Alex Smith, whom police later arrested and charged with murder. Current gang task force coordinator Boyd Patterson prosecuted Smith.
That particular case ended with a plea of guilty to manslaughter and a sentencing hearing. So that's what happened. He could have faced, it was between 6 and 10 years. But after the sentencing hearing, he was given 6 years.
Authorities say much of the violence playing out is gang-related. According to a recent study, blacks make up 89% of the gangs in Chattanooga, followed by whites at 10.5%. And the number of gang-related crimes rose from 127 in 2007 to 500 in 2011.
I want to get some terms straight with you. What is the difference between urban and inner city? Is there a difference? Because what in the Chattanooga, is that the Chattanooga inner city?
Urban means black.
Right.
Whenever you hear urban, that's black.
Okay,
now
so
you can have inner city, which is geographical of this. It's the inner city.
Right.
Now they can be used synonymously and incorrectly, but when you hear urban, that's targeted towards black people.
Okay.
So that makes sense. So
is this a term
geographically, you say it's inner. You can say inner city. And that means just downtown.
Right. But is what's happening in Chattanooga, is that happening in the inner city?
I would guess so. Okay. I don't know how you conflate urban. I mean, because like I said, when they say urban, they mean black, even though Chattanooga is not urban. It's
right. Okay.
It's a tricky word. It's like, oh yeah, over there. So over there where the blacks are. It's kind of like urban is synonymous with ghetto. It's really ghetto.
Well,
this
word needs to be outlawed because it has too many stupid meanings. I mean, it used to be a music style. It used to be just a music sort. That's what it was. Urban, baby.
Well, slow down, Curry. No goggles yet, but slow down because we're getting there.
No, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
We're getting there.
Listen, Grasshopper is too educated.
Urban music leads to
yeah. Okay.
So you have. This guy gets 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years. Now, I can look at it one or two ways. I can say, whew, at least one black guy's going to be out 6 years. I mean, the other one's dead. Or I can say, wow, is a black life only worth 6 years in jail?
Yeah, do you know that?
And this is where this is how this gets tricky.
But was this second degree?
Because if I come down on the side of, that's not... Well, they said it was a plea deal on manslaughter, but I want to raise somebody's concern. I mean, raise our awareness, our memory to. You remember Botham John and the female cop that shot him, and she got 10 years, and everybody was all up in arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this guy gets 6 years for killing another black man, not a peep out of anybody. And he was like, oh yeah, we gave him 6 years. I mean, he was bold enough to go on the news and say, yeah, we let a guy off for murder with 6 years. And is that, now I had to be cynical. Is that because you want murderous people to make it back to the hood while they're still in their prime? They're killing prime?
Yeah, well, again,
let's talk about it now.
Yeah, well, again, a very interesting perspective. You said, "Wow, is a black life only worth 6 years?" If I had heard that, well, please, I mean, because I know a little bit about legal sentencing.
Okay, I'm just saying,
if it was a plea deal on manslaughter,
from my side,
yeah, no, I understand. I of course did not have that empathy. I did not think, "Wow, that dead guy is only worth 6 years." I thought, maybe the way it worked out, the altercation, I don't know what happened. I don't know. The gun went off. I don't know. But I totally understand where you're coming from. Of course.
That's about the running average, about 10 years for a black life. That's what you get, you know. I mean, and these people know this in the streets. I know I sound very callous.
No, but this is important. I know what you're going to say now. This is important because that's what's known. They know, oh, it's just 10 years, or if you're lucky, 6 years, recycle, you're out. Is that where that's going?
Exactly. And if I'm running a white supremacist enterprise here, those are the kind of people I want back on the streets.
Yes. I see the problem. So in this case, the system is actually assisting this problem by perhaps even trying to be compassionate. It's a mind fuck.
And now let's say on the other side, say this guy got life in prison. Well, there goes 2 lives. It's like you can have it either way you want it.
Yeah, you can. Oh man,
this is why this is such a slippery thing to wrestle, because when you throw that, what about black on black crime? Because and I tried to work this show that I watch, and I have mixed feelings about it, called First 48 on A&E. And I watch it often because it gives you a good cross section of criminality, especially black on black crime that results in murder. What basically the premise of the show is the first 48 hours after a homicide are the most critical hours.
Right.
And so they have a lot of inventory with black men been killed. So of course that's going to be the majority of your cases. And it could go either way. You can have these cases where one guy gets 6 years for killing a black life, or you could have one guy go rob another black guy with another black guy in the car, and they killed the one black guy, and then the other 2 guys get life without parole.
So
just because the second guy went with just was tagging along.
So yes. So this is where it gets confusing, and I'm just going to say it. I'm sure I'm jumping the gun, but a big part of today's movement is to have police reform and to get a lot of people out of jail much quicker, or not even go to jail at all for certain crimes up to incredible levels. Again, that seems like it's compassionate, but from what you're telling me, it could have a completely adverse effect within the criminal circuit. It's like, oh, this is great. We just recycle. Thank you very much, BLM.
Right. And if your goal is to have more, okay, we already know Black Ink and BLM's business model feeds off of black dead bodies in the street.
Yes.
You need the total number, and then you need the highlight cases that the media runs with, which by cops.
Yeah.
And
martyrs.
I want to say this one thing. Notorious B.I.G. had a song called "You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You." When a black person kills a black person, that's a nobody killing nobody in the media's eyes. It's only when you're killed by a white person or you kill a white person,
then you've made it.
Okay, now you're somebody.
Woo!
Because
yeah, you make it.
It's a very sick, and this is what I find very problematic is people like Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, all these Soros sister DAs. Y'all don't understand the nuance that needs to be had when you're saying who do we lock up, who don't we lock up? They're just like, oh, let everybody out. And then what happens? The community gets riddled with crime, and then you get the heavy hand of the law coming down. Right. And then you get another criminal justice bill.
Yeah.
And it's indiscriminate. And now black people are being stopped and frisked again. So it's like, where's the nuance here? Yeah. But nobody wants nuance. Everybody wants dead black men in the street, period.
Well, not everybody.
And on that level, let me clarify.
Okay.
On that, I'm talking about on that. When we speak, we don't talk about humans. I mean,
of course,
people here.
Yeah,
we talk about
systems.
factions.
Yes, factions.
And dead black men work for everybody. It works for it's the salve for all wounds.
It's a floor wax and a dessert topping.
Exactly, because you can say, look at this. If I want to say about trans men. Or trans women, who does it? Black men, you know. So it's like, you're going to see. I don't want to talk the show here too much, but
keep the train rolling.
Yeah. So in this next clip from the Chattanooga News piece, they talked to somebody actually in the life. So we have 2.1.
When it comes to black-on-black crime in Chattanooga, Gang Task Force Community Outreach Coordinator Fred Hauser has seen it all. Hauser believes the problems unfolding on the streets don't start on the streets, but rather at home where offenders come from broken families with little or no guidance.
People often point back to the family. Well, when I was coming up, it was a primary family, the mother and father, but it was also everybody in the neighborhood that represent the family. That structure, has broken down.
And age does play a role. That was confirmed by a man who admits to being gang associated. For his protection and the protection of his family, we agreed to hide his face and alter his voice.
It's a myth that, the older you get and being in the game, the more power and respect you got. It ain't about that no more, It's about the nigga who out here putting in the most work, nigga who pistol play heavy, nigga who got a name for itself. So these young niggas be 16, 17 years old and be telling 30 and 40-year-old grown men what to do.
Wow.
So that goes to show you about the decentralization that I spoke about previously. Mm-hmm. That's all about a name. It's not about, it's no ranks, you're going to make it the general or capo or lieutenant.
Right.
You make it up the ranks, and it's no more of that. It's about,
you're in.
Like, basically the Wild West. Yeah. It's the Wild West.
You're in the posse.
Who's the fastest gun?
Yeah, you're in the posse
who
or
has
not.
the fastest gun?
Yeah.
So looking at this, we have to go back to the Super Predator meme, because that's still alive and well, / the thug life or the thug / So this comes from a movie 1992 called Juice, which featured Tupac Shakur.
I remember this one. Sure.
And this scene right here lets you into and now it's a movie and it's dramatized, but
wasn't Kamala Harris in that movie? Sorry,
I don't think so.
Sorry. I thought she was hanging with Tupac back then. I'm sorry.
Maybe she was the lady in the record store with the gold teeth. I
don't know. There you go. Good times.
Yeah. So in this scene, it lets you inside the mind of what they would say a quote unquote super predator thinks like.
It's over. Everything starts from now. We all go down unless we stay together. Ain't no one man above the crew. You know that shit. Crazy, man. You know what? When you said that last time, I was kind of tripping, right? But now, you're right. I am crazy. But you know what else? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about Steele. And I don't give a fuck about Raheem either. I don't give a fuck about myself. Look, I ain't shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. And you less of a man than me, so as soon as I decide that you ain't gonna be shit, pow, so be it.
Yes, it's a rom-com, obviously.
So imagine coming across a person with that mentality that has all the self-hate in the world.
Yeah.
Nobody speaking positivity into him, because that's the thing. That was the character of Bishop. His father was a war vet. He's kind of out of it. and he was being bullied by Radamez's crew, a rival gang, and he was tired of it. He was tired of being pushed around. I'm just trying to humanize people, and it gets to the point where you have people that's outwardly suicidal. It's like, I'll let society do the job for me of killing me, but I'll take down everybody along the way I can. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like the mentality of these people that you come across. The problem with that is they're so far and few between, as we pointed out with the flaw in the super predator numbers.
Yeah.
Just because people say they subscribe to this mindset don't mean they actually live it. And you have a lot of kids, including myself when I was young, that would dress the part, that would use the vernacular to play the part, because that's what the women were attracted to, whether girls. You know, they wanted the tough guy. I mean, and this is American apple pie. I mean, Fonzie got all the chicks because he was saying he had the leather jacket and the motorcycle. I mean, let's just keep it 100 here. So this is nothing new, but this is what's feeding this scenario with black on black crime. So I don't know. I want to know what you took away from that scene, or what it sparked in your mind.
Well, I think exactly what you said. It sounds like, well, I've met some crazy people in my life. Maybe they weren't in a gang, but they said crazy shit like this too. And, it's frightening, but if you're going to think that, well, look, this is trauma-based entertainment. All the elements are in there. It's easy to think, holy crap, that's what all the urban areas are like, Kelly. It's like, I don't know. That sounds pretty desperate.
And it's very dangerous, because when people watch this and then they see me dressing, looking like the characters, they just associate. And like I said, all this is part of a bigger plan, and we're going to get there. But I found a throwback clip from Show 41, and this is Tupac, and he talks about Donald Trump and greed in America.
I'm sorry. Can I stop you for a second?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Well known is the talk that your parents had with you.
Yes.
Did the talk not at any point say, son, stop dressing like a gangbanger when you go out because you can get in trouble just for the way you look?
Well, it's not the point about dressing like a gangbanger. It's the point of dressing about what's hip. I wasn't wearing bandanas and Chuck Taylors and those things.
Okay, I got you. But it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much because it's popular culture.
I mean, look at the hoodie.
Yeah.
The hoodie's been around since forever, but it's like, okay, we're going to weaponize the hoodie now.
And I have to say, and then I'll shut up. The hoodie was an exclusive white guy thing. It got taken away from us with Trayvon. It was the Unabomber trademark. It was a white, horrible guy trademark.
or the creepy guy with the sunglasses. Like, are you right?
That's the Unabomber.
I didn't ever think about that.
That was the Unabomber. Yeah. It was our hoodie, man. Thanks.
Because that goes to show you how powerful images are. Because when you said that, the composite sketch
it came
of a tightly pulled hoodie popped right into my head. But now that we say hoodie, we think Trayvon Martin. Those things. Yeah. I mean, we could go down the list. I mean, black people have taken a whole bunch of. We took weak colored construction boots and turned them into a fashion statement. That was later,
but that's okay. I feel good. We've taken so much from the Black brothers. Here, you can have the hoodie.
We can have the hoodie back.
Enjoy your hoodie.
Thank you. But the hoodie, I will say this: the hoodie's been around since this era, 1992. Yeah. The Champion hoodie. This was very common. So. It was amazing how they started to weaponize it recently with the Trayvon Martin case. Like, it's the hoodie. It's like, but we had a clip that we played before. Like, I won't let my kids wear hoodies or sneakers. It's like, that's like the teenage boys go-to is those things.
Yeah, and when my dad was a kid, it was the E-boots, the engineer boots, because that was what Marlon Brando had, and that was cool, but then you were in a biker gang. So I guess it's always been that way. Yeah, the Fonz, the same thing. E-boots, same thing. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So now getting back to Tupac, Trump, and greed.
This world is such a, and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in the ideal sense. I mean in every day, every little thing you do. It's such a, gimme. Everybody back off. You know, everybody's like, you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. If you want to be successful, you want to be like Trump, gimme. Push. Step. Crush. That's how it all is. And it's like, nobody ever stopped. Just, you know, I feel like instead of us just being like, slavery's bad, slavery's down, bad whitey. I mean, all right, let's stop that. And everybody's smart enough to know that, I mean, we've been slighted and we want ours. And I don't mean by like ours, 40 acres and a mule, because we're past that. But we need help. I mean, for us to be on our own 2 feet, us meaning youth or us meaning black people, whatever you want to take it for us to be on our own 2 feet, we do need help because we have been here. We have been a good friend. If you want to make it a relationship type thing, we have been there, and now we deserve our payback. It's like you got a friend that you don't never look out for. You know, you dressed up in jewels. Now America's got jewels, and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us.
This wasn't too long before he was shot, was it?
This was 1992, so that was what, 4 years? Okay. 4 years before.
All right. Yeah.
So this is pre jail,
right?
Tupac, and there was definitely a change that happened there. So maybe one day we'll talk about that. But he makes a great point.
That was from Moe Factz 41. If anyone wants to go back and listen to that more in context,
that was I think the Thug Life episode.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have young black men grow up in America where it's take what you want. If somebody strikes on you, you strike back harder. If they drop 2 buildings in Manhattan, you go kill 1 million people. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the rider mentality, and it's like when they embrace it, it's wrong.
Yes, this is one of my biggest gripes, of course.
Because that's all we know in America is just take. And, you know, I mean, when I'm saying corporate America, the corporation, is just take. You know, and that's why I think Trump gets respected at least because he's clear. You want us to come there? What you going to give us?
Right.
How about their oil? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's up? You know what I'm saying? You want your streets cleaned up? You know, you want us to bang for your set? You know, what you going to give us?
Yeah. Well,
and it's a certain respect that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so when you grow this up and then these kids are raised by television, you have no father to give you any context, the nuance, or those kind of things. Like you said, the talk that you had mentioned before.
Yes.
There's a bunch of talks that go on. This is talks that how to deal with white people. It's talks that how to deal with your own kind. You know, if you're in certain areas, don't go to certain areas that people that look like you. I mean, this talk thing is not only about how to deal with white people. It's about how to deal with threats to your life. That's what the talk is about.
Well, you said something interesting because I thought the talk was pretty much about law enforcement. At least that's what I've been told about the talk. You just said something different. And it makes total sense, by the way. But the first thing you said, the talk is about how to deal with white people. That's interesting.
Well, that's one of the biggest, well, not even white people, it's the cops.
Okay.
And,
all right. That's what
white people in general. But what I'm saying is anything that can threaten your existence, whether it's taking your life or your reputation or, you know, impeding you from having a good life, that's all encompassing of the talk that a father has with his sons. Right. And now, let me be clear. I'm not excluding the girls, but girls and women and everybody else has advocates for their cause. This is why this show took me 2 weeks, because I'm being an advocate for young men that look like me. And I understand I'm lucky to be here. And the reason why I'm saying I'm lucky, I participated in some of the same activities, you know, what is called riding. You know what I'm saying? You go out, you ride, you know what I'm saying, you know, bad license, bad registration, you don't have money, you know, the state's always messing with you some kind of way to, you know, right or wrong. I mean, but the state needs theirs. I mean, but when you're young, you don't think about that kind of thing. And I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm 1 or 2 bad searches away from being, you know what I'm saying, being a victim of the criminal justice system. So when I speak about young black men, I'm speaking from the heart, and I'm black men in general, but especially young black men. I'm speaking for the heart because everybody else has the goal to use them. for their own gain.
Of course.
So I'm sorry if I'm getting too personal, but it's very
much
hits home with me.
It's very much appreciated. And as you're saying that, I was thinking that, of course, I think every young man gets into some stupid shit, and we do some stupid shit. But I've never done anything that I never got caught. But I also didn't. I'm sure.
That's my point. Like we just.
But I'm sure of it. I'm sure that I didn't have the same fear that you had. For sure, I didn't have the same fear. Yeah.
What's the odds? It's like let's take Corona for instance. The more you test, the more positives you find, right?
Yep.
So it's the same thing when you start talking about arresting, pulling over people.
The more bullshit you're going to find.
The more
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
The more have the roaches you're going to find.
Yeah.
It's not like you blatant, oh, I forgot to, have this roach in my book bag, or, didn't have time to stop by my locker to drop this off, or that kind. And really,
no, you nailed it.
You nailed the gateway drug.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Is the gateway drug.
The more you test, the more positives you get. You nailed it. It's exactly right. The more you test, and if you're testing a certain group more, you're going to find the shit with them. Absolutely. Now, because that's a topic we share, and I guarantee you I've smoked more weed than you have.
You probably have. But I'm just saying that probably better, of course.
Oh, okay. Now it's that, is it? Oh, damn.
That's just the inside baseball.
The ultimate racism.
Good weed. Yeah, good weed was often referred to as white boy weed.
Fuck, man, really?
So
don't give me that urban skunk, man. I don't want any of that. Shit. White boy weed. So, you come visit me, Mo. We'll show you what that's about.
So to get into the mindset of what we would call a thug or a super predator, at one time, Malcolm X would fall into this category before he was enlightened, and brought into the knowledge of self and, the plight against his people. So I have some excerpts from his autobiography written by Alex Haley, and it's written by Joe Morton. And let's just get into 1.1 West Indian Archie versus Detroit Red.
It was a classic hustler code impasse. The money wasn't the problem. I still had about $200 of it. Had money been the issue, Sammy could have made up the difference. If it wasn't in his pocket, his women could quickly have raised it. West Indian Archie himself, for that matter, would have loaned me $300 if I'd asked him, as many thousands of dollars of mine as he'd gotten 10% of. Once, in fact, when he'd heard I was broke, he had looked me up and handed me some money and grunted, "Stick this in your pocket." The issue was the position which his action had put us both into. For Hustler in our sidewalk jungle world, face and honor were important. No hustler could have it known that he'd been hyped, meaning outsmarted or made a fool of. And worse, a hustler could never afford to have it demonstrated that he could be bluffed, that he could be frightened by a threat, that he lacked nerve. West Indian Archie knew that some young hustlers rose in stature in our world when they somehow hoodwinked older hustlers, then put it on the wire for everyone to hear. He believed I was trying that. In turn, I knew he would be protecting his stature by broadcasting all over the wire his threat to me. Because of this code, in my time in Harlem, I'd personally known a dozen hustlers who, threatened, left town disgraced. Once the wire had it, any retreat by either of us was unthinkable. The wire would be awaiting the report of the showdown.
Huh.
So this is young Malcolm X. He claimed that he hit a number, and the guy that ran the numbers, that's why I said numbers is a huge component of black culture in that time. Not as much now because you have the legal lottery. But he claimed that he hit a number. Archie said he didn't, so they're at an impasse.
Right.
And to save face, Archie has to call Malcolm out, who was known as Detroit Red at the time. And this thing he referred to multiple times is the wire.
Yeah.
The wire. The wire is what social media is now, or what we say the streets. like they say, the streets is talking. Used to hear the song, heard it through a grapevine.
Bird on the Wire.
This is what they're talking. This was like the social media of that time. And once it got on the wire that you have been played, you have to save face. And that's what it's all about. Now it's still the same thing. It's not, most of the time it's not about money. It's about this image that you created. One being Detroit Red, the other one being West Indian Archie, which are, caricatures, or for lack of, I don't have a lack of a better word, but just caricatures of themselves, or, alter egos. That's the word I'm looking for. These are alter egos that you build up for yourself on the streets. That's why every rapper has an alter ego, if you notice, and sometimes multiple ones, because it's like you have Curtis Jackson, then you have 50 Cent. 50 Cent can't get played. You know, West Indian Archie can't get played. Detroit Red can't get played. So now the wire is waiting to see.
Did he get played? Right.
Exactly.
Is the wire, so and I completely understand, the wire at that time might have been barbershops and guy on the corner to the next guy.
Telephones.
Yeah, telephones. And did that come back in hip hop as like a real wire that ran through the songs, or is it always kind of maintain that street level? And it may be, as you said, social media today. Does it still exist in the old form of the wire?
No, well, I mean, it's all about technology and how it can be utilized. So at that time, it was the telephone.
Okay.
And then when you had music come about, you had it go on wax. And they're saying, they always say the term on wax, off wax, like on wax beef. It was just like talking junk, but it would jump off of wax because you saw this with the Tupac and Biggie thing. Once it gets to a point, one guy sleeping with the other guy's wife, or claiming they're sleep with the other guy's wife, something has to happen. I mean, you at a point now of...
It's not really a racial thing, Mo. Something's got to happen in every group with that shit. Yeah.
And I'm glad you allied me, because I'm open on home.
Boom.
It's the same thing with Roger Stone, General Flynn. We don't fold. We don't rat. You know what I'm saying? That's like there's certain things that the street respects about
his code.
Donald Trump and his cohorts. It's like, and Cohen was looked at like a rat. It's like, bro,
yeah,
I mean, how you gonna rat at your man Trump?
Yeah, that was a bad look.
It was a very bad look, because because I'm looking at it through the street's eyes, and it's like, no, you can't rat. I mean, you did dirt with this dude. I mean, you his lawyer, for God's sake, and you out here, you're saying you out here ratting. I mean, but you know, the General Flynn, that would be considered soldiers,
right?
The irony in that, I mean, but they could be considered soldiers because they didn't take the easy way out. You know, they rode. So this saving face thing, I mean, it's big in all cultures, especially masculine driven cultures.
Right.
So I just want to say
Good.
that.
No, that's cool. I enjoy hearing that. Thank you.
All right. So now you have West Indian Archie and Detroit Red are bound to have a face off, and we'll hear about it in 1.2.
The next thing I knew, West Indian Archie was standing before me, cursing me loud, his gun on me. He was really making his public point, floor showing for the people. He called me foul names, threatened me. Everyone, bartenders, customers, sat or stood as though carved, drinks in midair. The jukebox in the rear was going. I had never seen West Indian Archie high before. Not a whiskey high. I could tell it was something else. I knew the hustler's characteristic of keying up on dope to do a job. I was thinking, I'm going to kill Archie. I'm just going to wait until he turns around to get the drop on him. I could feel my own .32 resting against my ribs where it was tucked under my belt, beneath my coat. West Indian Archie, seeming to read my mind, quit cursing, and his words jarred me. You're thinking you're gonna kill me first, Red. But I'm gonna give you something to think about. I'm 60. I'm an old man. I've been to Sing Sing. My life is over. You're a young man. Kill me, you're lost anyway. All you can do is go to prison. I've since thought that West Indian Archie may have been trying to scare me into running to save both his face and his life. It may be that's why he was so high. No one knew that I hadn't killed anyone, but no one who knew me, including myself, would doubt that I'd kill.
Wow, this is a great story.
this goes to show you, if this would have went left, we could have not had one of our greatest leaders in history make it to the point where he was able to realize, you know what I'm saying, who he really was, you know, and what value he brought. So this is why I'm passionate about the young men. I think there's a lot of redeemable young men out there. It just takes guidance. And this is why no father in the home, and, you know,
parent
fathers, families back together, a parent privilege is so important. Now we have to get to the so-called white people that love to bring up black on black crime.
Oh, hey, now it's Adam's portion of the show. Okay.
Well, no, because
I'm messing with you, Mo.
It's amazing how. Yeah, no, I'm saying it's amazing how black people are demonized when they have standoffs like Detroit Red and West Indian Archie have, but not so much if they're gunslingers.
Huh. Okay. Shall we roll it?
Yes, please.
The tense, prolonged drama of the Western gunfight. It is a scene played over and over, not only in books and on the screen, but also in our imagination.
Well, the classic Western gunfight that's in our mind is of two men facing off in the street with a camera angle underneath one person's leg looking at the other one. The good guy, he lets the bad guy draw first, and then, of course, the good guy ends up drawing and shooting the bad guy between the eyes. End of story.
When we think of Western gunfighters, we think of the classic Western gunfight. The problem is it simply never happened. I don't know of a single time in Western history where two guys were actually dumb enough to get out in the middle of the street and challenge each other to a draw. You get killed like that.
Yeah, it's so true though. Yeah, of course. That is interesting. Black guys in cowboy movies. It's never really strange, you know, walking around with guns because they got the hats on and the spurs, and it's all good.
Right. And Bass Reeves was one of the baddest men ever walked. American soil.
Right, exactly.
But it's, as you can see here, all about narrative. Even though it didn't go down that way, they can rewrite history, and that's what happened here. And we're gonna we ought to look at history. I'm not a big history person, even though I play a lot of clips from history.
Yeah.
I'm about what narrative survived from history. That's what piques my interest. Like, why are we talking about what we're talking about now and not the other 10 interesting things that get buried? Who's pushing this narrative? So to explain the Western culture or the Wild Wild West, they had to, you know, civilize it. Like, I'm calling you out, you know, meet me outside at high noon, pilgrim. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what? It's like, that's not even how it went down. But the fact that that's programmed into my mind, it's like, I look at black people to do the same thing. Hey, Detroit Red, meet me outside.
Right.
It's like, I'll just look at them as two thugs. But now, then this is real white supremacy.
There's something really honorable about a gunfight, the way you imagine it in the movies where they're standing out again, you know, face to face, and exactly what you said, that shot from through one guy's leg, you see the other guy. That always has like this dueling kind of honest man thing.
You calling me yellow?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these terms that just bleed over to our mind.
And not a racist term, by the way. Yeah.
No, but if you have two black men call each other out in the streets that have honest grievances and they just shoot it out, it's seen as, oh, that's barbaric. You know, this is this narrative that I'm talking about. And the crazy thing is, gunslingers don't even exist. They're not even a real thing.
That's just the movies.
The power of the narrative.
All right. Are we going to find out where this came from then?
Yeah, but before I continue on, I want to go back to one point and on the war watch front that we do. So what you have here, the thug is the product of the gender war, and now it's resulted itself in a generational war.
Yeah,
because the children have been charged up against men, older men, And that's why you're seeing it play out in the streets. Like, and I wanted to make that point before we got too far away from the West Indian Archie and Detroit Red clip. There's always going to be enmity between older men and younger men, but it's only heightened by the mother, shaping the young boy's mind against the older male, i.e. the father.
Right.
So I just want to say that point.
That flows over. Of course, that flows over. So me, it's like now I'm 56. I'm definitely a guy to be hated.
Naturally. I mean, this is part of nature. I mean, the younger bulls or the younger lions, they're going to look to test the older ones. But that's what separates for animals, is that when we work with the previous generations and all other genders that, make a better civilization and better society. So I just want to go back to that, because I just want to lay that out, because all that we talk about is going to be gender war, generational war, or race war.
Right.
So, all right. So let's get into Wild West Part 2.
But there is certainly a grain of truth behind the gunslinger legend. And finding it takes us to the western frontier in the second half of the 19th century. It was a lawless time when the harsh and grimy reality of life came to favor those who were fearless with a gun.
The willingness to step to the edge is what determined whether or not a man had what it took. If you think of the quote from the novel The Shootist, J.B. Brooks, the protagonist, says, most men will hesitate before they pull the trigger. They'll blink an eye or take a breath. I won't.
In the Old West, shootist was a common term for the men who made their reputations with guns. The word gunfighter appeared as early as 1870, but did not come into wide use until later. The word gunslinger is probably a creation of the 20th century. Researchers at Merriam-Webster's have traced it no further than the famous author Zane Grey, who used it in his novel Nevada, written in 1928. The gunslinger, by any name, was the product of a society in which guns were essential tools from the very beginning.
Yeah, no doubt that is our culture. That is our American culture for sure.
So if you take young men and you show them these images, and you have no counterbalance force there to explain to them what they're seeing, and to explain to them about being positive, or not even positive, but righteous in your actions. I mean, because even when Clint Eastwood came, it's like, okay, I get it. Those guys are bad. Even though Clint's kind of bad, they will hire him to clean up the town.
Yeah.
We don't get any of that counterbalance there. Now, I want to go back to controlling language. Gunslinger is a creation of the 20th century.
Yes.
I've never heard the term shootist before.
No,
Maybe we need to start referring to.
I had not heard that either. Shootist. No, that was new to me too.
We need to start referring to, black on black. Oh, they're just shootist. It's the shootist culture. Something like that. I mean, but it's amazing the narrative of how it can just be explained away. How certain cultures gain their way in America, and it's like, in those rough times, it was decided by the gun, and guns were critical tools, and and I'm not justifying any of this. No. I'm just saying this is the environment.
The Shootist was a John Wayne movie.
Really?
Yeah, The Shootist. I'm not the film buff. It's not like Siskel and Ebert over here, just to date myself. Wikipedia. The Shootist is a 1976 American Western film directed by Don Siegel. It is notably known as John Wayne's final film role. And he is, John Wayne, Lauren Bacall, he's the Shootist. So that is interesting. But just throwing it out there, because that always gives us context when we find the roots of these words.
And it's the shared mentality of a guy like Billy the Kid and a young kid now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have my gun. My gun is the only thing that allows me not to become a victim. And, you know, it's me and my gun.
Right.
That's the mentality. So how can we look down on the premise of how they got there? And also considering all the things that shape their environment that we talked about in the last 47 episodes.
Yes.
But hopefully, you know, it explains it a little bit. But it doesn't just stop in the Wild Wild West either.
And neighborhood turf was absolutely everything, the gang members. And I think probably a good guess for the average age of a gang member was probably about 16 or 17, probably down to as low as 12.
I mean, they did every possible thing that you could do.
Yeah.
At the time, the corruption was unbelievable when you really get into the history of it.
But people must be made to understand that all these things are best kept within what I like to call the Tammany family, which is why I'm talking about an alliance between our two great organizations.
You're talking about muscle work.
That too. Muscle to match our spirit.
You own the crushers, get them to do it.
The police? Oh no, Jesus, no. The appearance of the law must be upheld, especially while it's being broken.
There was a time when the line between criminal and hero and decent human being and not so decent human being were very muddy and murky.
Yeah. Yeah. This is from a movie, right?
Oh, Liam Neeson. Oh, Liam.
Yeah.
This is from Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
But do you listen to how they were talking about it? Like, oh, yeah, you know, the lines were murky then. And, they did even Leonardo DiCaprio, he chuckles when he talks about it. It's like, oh, yeah, they did everything. So it's this mentality of like every other culture. And you hear this a lot when you talk about black on black crime. The retort is, well, the Kennedys got rich off of liquor. The Bushes got rich off of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And stealing oil and those kind of things. So these people are aware of American history, not the ones in the boots on the ground. But it's a couple things I want to point out in that clip. He says that when I think they're talking to Boss Tweed, and he says, why don't you get the rollers to rollers? I think it's another word for cops at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why don't you get them to do it? It's like, no. We need muscle. That's the third wave. That's the third wave we're talking
about. You're right.
Right,
it is the third wave. Right. Yeah. You want to re-explain that?
So the third wave is, okay, we have a Black Lives Matter Inc. or Black Inc. protest. The first wave are, the Black Lives Matter.
It's the suburban kids who meanwhile are underinformed and over socialized.
Well, I think the first wave of the activists are the true hardcore, well trained Marxists.
Yes,
by their term.
Yes,
we're super trained or super versed in Marxism.
Yeah, well trained.
So they're on the group. They're the first wave. And then you have the second wave are the agent provocateurs, the ones that break the glass. Now, we've seen that they can come from either side, or the right or the left, because we've seen some stories there. But then the third wave are the
actual people who
criminal element. Yeah.
Well, let me play it back just to make sure that I got it right, because we had this conversation already. Okay. I want to know. And the third wave is literally the people who have. In the beginning of the show, we're saying, well, like Tupac said, take. That's what Trump does. All these guys do it when they get the opportunity. The windows were broken. We didn't break the windows, but now it's open. People go, we're going to take. This is what everybody does. That is the American way. That I think is your point about the third wave.
That's my whole point. It's kind of like when they have, we go to other nations, like these non-governmental organizations, there would be the third wave. It's like, the government came in and destabilized and, rubblized, the word you like to use.
Rubblized,
but now we're going to clean up. And now if we have to, if we take, make a profit off of it, it is what it is. It's here for the taking. That kind of thing. So it's the same mentality. But it's just amazing. I wanted to point this final point out of Liam Neeson. This is the same guy that says after he thought a black man had raped one of his friends, or she told him he raped him, he walked the streets for weeks looking for a black man to beat up and attack. But then he laughs off criminality when it's done by other people. It's just amazing the hypocrisy. So I'm just saying, when you say black on black crime, remember that America is rooted in criminal activity and criminal mindset, you know, from the very beginning, because it was strong. Only the strong survive. I mean, like, I'm not taking away anything. I'm just saying that's the reality.
Let me throw something at you. Let me throw something at you. As a so-called white man in America, of course, I recognize the criminal activity, and as I said earlier, and a lot of the political system and elements in politics are incredibly criminal. It's interesting. I know that if I really had wanted to, or if I was younger, if I wanted to, I know that I could achieve that level of criminality, and I would understand it. And I'm just shooting from the hip here, so I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. It's like I would be familiar, like, okay, but these are a bunch of douchebags. And they're not going to shoot me. The worst I can get from them is they're going to steal from me indirectly, and they might send me or my kids off to war. Then when you see, like the music videos or Tupac, the Juice movie, it's like, I can never be that. And it's true, I can never be that, because I can never be that, you see. And that is by itself really scary, because I don't know what that person is maybe capable of, whereas I can identify with that person over there, and that seems much less. And I mean, and by the way, it's truly racist thinking. But that's what it is. It's really interesting.
This is systemic. This is systemic racism.
Well,
when you rewrite history,
no, you know what it is. It's just ignorance. Right. It's ignorance. I look at the world so differently after 47 episodes. My life has changed, and I've been doing the work.
I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the people that says that built the system where you could think that way. To think,
it's fantastic. That's so smart.
It is, right? I mean,
genius.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from the architecture of it. I'm just telling you what the system is. And we're designed to say two behaviors will be seen totally different by who's doing the behavior.
And this is probably,
we're seeing that now. Go ahead.
This is probably one of the most important episodes we've done. I know I said it before, but when you come to the realization that the system really has been set up, for you to believe these things. And, obviously I know a lot of this is reinforced through entertainment and media, but most people can never step back and see that vast difference. There may be people right now listening going, I don't quite get it. I'm telling you, you have to step back. It's like, holy shit. That's absolutely true. This is the good point.
But on the other, go ahead.
No, for me, the good thing is, when you think about it, when you've had to think about it, your thinking is changed forever. That's good news.
Yeah, because you see it from and likewise, if you come up on the other side of that coin, you say, how can they not see it?
How can they not see it? Of course.
But when you achieve a certain level in America and you're not faced with it day by day, then you understand, or some people don't understand. They just say, I pull myself by my own bootstraps. I put myself in this position to succeed. No, you were very lucky because you didn't get the full brunt of what the system does. That's the only, like I said, the only thing that protected me was my parents, my parental privilege. That's it. Because they made me realize who I was, what was out there, how to navigate the system, and I had a lot of praying people for me. I'm gonna just be honest with you, because like I said, one bad turn and easily you get caught up in that system. And then people think, oh, well, you're not getting 20 years for smoking a joint, but it's a slippery slope. Once you get in that system, you never can get out, because it's probation first.
Yeah, and now it's cumulative. It builds up.
It's one thing, next thing. And a lot of guys in jail rather just finish their sentence in jail because they understand the system. It's like, I'm not going to your probation or your parole.
Right, just to get all the way out.
Now you want to monitor me for another 6 years, and then the more you test, the more positive.
So I'll just sit it out here. That's better. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a real occurrence. But just to get back to the gang in New York, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just going back to the criminal justice reform, a lot of that is early parole, which, if I hear you correctly, in some percentage of cases, maybe majority, is actually bad because that's where you get the more testing, more cases, and there's so much risk without I don't know, it just seems like that's where your recidivism comes from.
Well, yeah, because the old criminal justice system, you do 10 days in jail, pay your fine, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, we're going to give you 2 years probation. Okay, so you're going to give a 16-year-old 2 years of, call it what it is, monitoring, OTG guy, you know what I'm saying? Monitoring, and say, okay, if they slip up, then we're going to hit them with a stiffer penalty.
Yeah.
I would rather go to jail for 10 days and just be done with it, as long as it didn't affect my record.
Right.
I mean, my long-term record. Right. I would just rather get it over with, but this is the system. It's no win in this system.
Another thing you don't think about. Now, a good friend of mine did actually go to jail and white-collar crime, and he went away for, I think, 18 months. And so I got I'd never used, what is it called? J-Pay and J-Message, which is, the jail.
Oh, collect calls?
Well,
collect calls.
Oh, yeah, but you have to send.
I mean, that's what, yes.
No, wait, you got to send credits to him. And even to reply to a message, he didn't have any email. To reply to a message, I had to give him credits, like $1 an email, a message so he could send something back to me. And he would write to me, and of course that would always arrive opened and all that crap. But forget that. His parole period and the shackles that he has, metaphorically speaking, are insane. Right. And this it's been hard for him to get his life back together because he was more on higher end. He was doing business stuff, so no one wants to do business with him. Because he's got a record.
Oh, he got to check the box. He got to check the box.
He has to check the box. That's right. He can't raise money. He can't raise money through the traditional means because of the box. Yeah. So
let me have one quick aside before we continue with this clip about the box. I've known several people to not check the box, show up to work, be great employees, some of the best employees. I mean, when I was working, in warehouses and things of that nature during college. And then they come to find out they run their background check on them, and then they walk them out. But I'm like, hold on. Yeah. He wouldn't have made it in the door if he does check the box.
Yeah.
Now that he's proven himself to be reliable, probably more reliable than, people that didn't have that hanging over their head. And it's like, oh, no, you're a felon. Get him out of here. Yeah. It's like, but you worked with this guy for 2 months. I mean, he's a great guy. No, get him out of here. So, like I said, this is the system. Yeah. This is the system.
Yeah.
So let's just get back into the gangs in New York, part 2.
Boss Tweed, William Marcy Tweed, was himself of Irish stock and grew up in an East Side tenement, came up through the ranks and was in one of the leading lights, if not the leading light, of Tammany Hall. He pulled the strings. He controlled the gangs to the degree that the gangs were an unofficial arm of enforcement. The gangs were not officially on the city payroll, but certainly some of the gangs functioned as if they effectively were on the city payroll, and they worked for whoever happened to be wielding the most power. That's how gangs operate. Besides protecting themselves and their turf, they are available for hire to whoever holds the club. And since Tweed did, he effectively controlled the gangs.
Once again, notice Boss Tweed, this alter ego.
Yeah.
He didn't go by his regular name. It was Boss. I mean, that his name had to ring bells in the streets. And so you go by this moniker, and your moniker really gets bigger than, your personality gets bigger, or the persona gets bigger than who you really are. So I'm just wrapping it up. Like when you want to start pointing the finger at black on black crime, hey, everybody in America had criminal elements in their so-called race. So just chill with that. And I asked this question. I don't have an answer to it, but is black people just going through this because we're delayed and we're going through our Wild West phase now? I'm asking. I mean, it's a legitimate question, right? I mean, because at some point you had, the McCoys and the Hatfields. I mean, these things progressed, and then America became more civilized. So I'm just wondering, is it a delayed effect with so-called black people? I'm just asking. I don't know. I'm not saying I'll lean one side or the other.
Well, let's address it for a second, because earlier, yes, well, when we played the Gangs of New York, I mean, as far as I know, from the time period, there were no black people to be in the gang because they had other jobs, quote unquote jobs. So that's why they weren't there. So that's an interesting question. If that is a process of maturation as a human group, as a human, because obviously you're a group of people. You share a lot with everybody else, but shit, yeah, you got a big delay on a lot of stuff. It's very possible. I mean, that's something you need to ask, like Brett Weinstein or something. Some social biologist guy. I almost said it, but it's a pretty damn good question. I don't know.
Right, and who knows? We might be on our way to our own Harvards or Yales or Columbias.
I'm out in China, and I find that the grandfather of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, his name was Warren Delano, was the opium king of China. The fortune that Franklin Delano Roosevelt lived off of, custom-made suits, nice houses, sailboats, vacations, summer homes, he didn't make that money. He inherited from Grandpa Warren Delano, the opium king of China. Cabot House at Harvard, opium. Skull and Bones at Yale, opium. The Low Library at Columbia, opium money. If you go on the Princeton website, at least they're honest, they will admit that their first biggest benefactor, John Green, was an opium dealer with Warren Delano. So the book is full of surprises. I'll let you judge. It didn't change my view about America so much. What it did is change my view about American historians.
Huh. All right, so I tell you my first thought.
All dope money.
So I tell you my first thought when I heard that. So back to the maturation process. So let's just say you've got 50 years at least delay in the modern gangster society, at least. So now you've got a new type of opium. It's fentanyl. And maybe this is your time. This is your time to build up big fentanyl empires. And the Chinese are feeding it.
There's only one problem.
Okay.
Go ahead. There's only one problem. There's no bottom for us to sell to. We were the bottom for all those other groups.
Right.
There's nobody behind us for us to sell to, so we sell to ourselves. So we're taking money out of one pocket and put it into the other pocket. On the same pair of pants.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening, because I always allude back to this pivotal scene in The Godfather. And excuse me for saying this, but he said, keep it down there with the niggers.
Right.
That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
The same person that made the Gangs of New York, Martin Scorsese. So I'm just saying, like, we're at the bottom. And as I'll prove later in this show, black men are the bottom of the bottom.
It hurts me when you say that. That really hurts when you say that. But I understand what you're saying in a generalization way. Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is this: I'm not saying it as it's a death sentence. I'm just saying that this is the prognosis. It's like this is you're fighting for your life with whatever ailment. Now, can we win? Can we beat it? Of course. I'm not saying we could beat anything, but it's like you have to have an accurate diagnosis of the problem before you can even start to treat it.
And it is so accurate when you look at what is happening today. I asked Joe Rogan, I said, name one black leader one male leader in Black Lives Matter. Is there any black man who is leading the charge in any type of movement at this moment? And he said, no. He said, I don't even know who Black Lives Matter's leaders are. I said, colors. No. Okay, he kind of knew that. But he had to admit. I said, that's the problem. Right. That's the problem. That's the real victim here.
And the solution is this conversation we're having here, Adam.
First, the white man and the black man have to be able to sit down at the same table. The white man has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of that Negro. And the so-called Negro has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of the white man. Then they can bring the issues that are under the rug out on top of the table and take an intelligent approach to get the problem solved. That's the only way that they'll ever do it.
That's right. In the words of Malcolm X, that is the only way we'll do it, and that's what we attempt to do every single episode of Moe Factz with Adam Curry. And as you notice, we have no commercials. There's no commercial interest. That's the antipathy of what we're all about. We probably wouldn't be able to survive that way anyway because, well, there's a reason why this conversation doesn't happen in mainstream media and entertainment. And as you can tell, it's actually against the entire system to do this. So we've chosen to be supported by the producers who help us out with feedback, with really a lot of positive support, not just financial, but words as well. And we appreciate it so we can continue to do this with complete transparency. It's just a fantastic system. We call it value for value. And we like to accredit some real accolades to our top donors for each episode. So these are our executive producers and associate executive producers of episode number 48 of Moe Factz with Adam Kerr. And we start off with Dwayne Melanchthon, a long-term supporter of the No Agenda show. In fact, I believe he is a Grand Duke. And he comes in by sending us, thank you, Dwayne, $357.45. Gentlemen, I love doing the work with you both. On the 45 Savage episode, was surprised Moe didn't also point out that the Joker is also the ultimate trump card.
This is true.
This is absolutely true. Here is my hashtag GBG donation for a 357 and a 45. Okay. So the GBG hashtag is a Moe Factz with Adam Curry exclusive. It is our hashtag promotion. Give blacks guns if you're going to give a black man or woman anything. And so we now have an official GBG donation, 357 and a 45. He'd love a Mo Karma, and he wants a biscuit. We can do that.
They always give me a biscuit on my birthday.
There you go.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Sir Cole Callistra, 133.33. Mo and Adam, thanks so much for enlightening and entertaining me. When I heard you play a clip from People Like Us, I knew it was time to donate. Please deadbeat me and send me a Mo Karma Woosa. Hey, we had the deadbeat, didn't we? Where the hell did I? Yes, here we go.
Yeah, yes.
I got it. We got, I think this is it. No, he wants to be deadbeated. Here we go.
You ain't got you deadbeat.
No, that's it. Wait, I don't know which one. Did that deadbeat? No, what's this one?
Ew, you're a deadbeat.
Okay, we haven't used these yet.
No, you're deadbeating them again.
No, I know. Yeah. I haven't used these yet. It's the wrong color code. Here we go.
Congratulations. You're no longer a deadbeat.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Oh, he needs a woosah too. Woosah. You know, okay. Now that I've tried them out, all new equipment, all new pieces of the show is new. Now that I understand how they work, I think we'll be good. And that, of course, is our very own James Dennifer who did that for us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Sir Callistra, thank you. BTC Buyer, $110. Love the podcast. Noah from Phoenix. David Keys, $100. No Agenda and Moe Factz are the two best podcasts in the universe. Keep it up, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Chris Malmy, $100. Hello, Mo and Adam from Cherry Valley, Massachusetts. Listening to episode 47 now and had to stop the show to donate. That's the way we love it, by the way. The information we hear on your show is invaluable. Both of us work full-time and have a 4-year-old, and there's no time to do the research and presentation you provide. We've been discussing options over the past few days on what to do now that Massachusetts is mandating vaccines. Yeah, especially so that's for flu and for the Rona, of course. After the research we've done, heard on No Agenda, and now your research on Show 47, it almost feels criminal to let them inject my son. We are considering a move to another state or stay and have no daycare. It's just insane. not a happy citizen. Thankfully, we have some sanity in our lives with Moe Factz, No Agenda, Darren O'Leal, and all the other podcasts sprouted from the No Agenda. Thank you very much, sincerely, Chris Malmy. And obviously, you're responsible adults. Don't take any advice from us. I don't think we gave any. But I'm very, very happy to see that you're researching and you're thinking about it. And that's always a good thing. And thank you so much for supporting us here on the show. $100 also an executive producer from Anonymous from Parts Unknown. Thank you. Jesse Cruz comes in with $100. Hey, Michael and Scotty, Sir Jesse Cruz here. I guess he has nicknames for us. I canceled some OnlyFans subscriptions, and I'm giving some value for value. I don't want to feel like a white NBA basketball player with the word ally on my back. Who was that? Who was it one of the Heat, I think? Who had the ally on it? The one white guy on the team.
Fill in the blank. It's a bunch of, it's like...
fill in the blank.
It's like, here, you take the ally jersey. Give the ally jersey to the white guy.
It's so messed up. It's like, no, this is wrong, man. All right, the ally hoodie. All right. So how about us producers working towards the title of Vizier? Vizier. Mo showed us. Well, Mo showed us that it is what boulet simply means. Oh, visor. Oh, advisor, I think.
Okay.
An advisor to the king, a vizier. Now, we got some levels coming up and a cool idea, which we're not going to talk about today.
I think we're rolling them out by 50. Maybe 50 is the right time to roll it out.
We got some work to do, Mo.
It's a milestone.
I know, but people got to understand. Like for Chris Malmy and his family, I'll just say it. Mo, he's got 4 human resources. He's got a job. And I see the preparation he does. Yeah. Phew. We there's a lot of work that goes into all this, and we're getting trying to get the back office together, and we still have to get the PayPal automatic subscription donation set up. So and I've also been crazy doing stuff. The new podcasting 2.0. I got to save our asses. So we're working on it, but It took No Agenda many years to get our crap together. So, but at least we have a format.
And that's the beauty of it, that everybody's seeing this. We had no plan coming into this. And I mean, each episode, we don't have a plan. It's just, you're witnessing how something naturally comes together. So gonna be bumps, there's gonna be bruises, but just take joy in the fact that you're witnessing something develop from the very ground up. So I think that's even more beautiful.
Exactly. And we also have to give Jesse Cruz some goat Mo karma, so we can do that.
You've got
Mo karma.
Adam Choi, $100. Hey, Mo and Adam. Rona Mo, immigrant here from here for value. Rona Mo is from Rogan Show to No Agenda to Moe Factz. It is the trifecta. It's almost like what was that? What is it? Oscar, Grammy, Emmy, Tony? Is it EGOT? Isn't it EGOT?
Yeah, I think it's EGOT. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the podcast EGOT, the Ronamo. And Adam Choi continues. I think we are blessed because this is a young podcast. Each episode has a central theme or topic, and each episode has an extensive and diverse collection of supporting facts and evidence. Therefore, I find that it's been very easy and interesting to listen to the older episodes, as they've not aged too much or become irrelevant. It would be very difficult to listen to some older episodes of No Agenda or some Joe Rogan Experience because many of the discussions are centered around current events, and there are thousands of episodes. Not hating, but they're a different type of podcast. That's true. That puts Moe Factz in a unique position today. I'm excited for what each episode has to deliver. Yes, it's a very important part of the format. A producer dropped a Mark Twain quote in the Killer Wasp episode. I would like to leave you with 2 Mark Twain quotes, one originally attributed to Grant Allen, that I think is extremely relevant in today's culture of indoctrination. Thanks, keep up the good work. Don't let your schooling interfere with your education, and education is what is left when you've forgotten what you were taught. Yes, those are great quotes. Mo karma for all the listeners, you bet. Absolutely. That's a great one.
You've got
Mo karma.
Martin Olson, $100 as well, and an executive producer, as all the rest we've mentioned so far on the episode. Sorry it's been so long since my last donation. My previous job as a dude named Ben was outsourced to India. Ugh. And I needed to wait until I had something new. I now have a new gig, and I wanted to give back. Give big thanks to the quality product you two have put out over the past year. Thank you, Martin, and very happy that you got a new gig. Excellent, excellent. Louise Wakefield, $100 from her as well. I'm so grateful for you guys and your rabbit holes, rational minds, and open hearts. It's so refreshing to feel like we're listening to people talk opening. Listening to you both learn is a joy. It's the only way through this mess. That's right. In the famous words of Malcolm X. Here also with an executive, these are associate executive producers. We have Thomas Kelly Tate with $76. Airgarn, fellas, how's it going in New Zealand speak? Airgarn, I think. Greetings from Melbourne, China. So much to say about what's happening in Victoria. We understand. That just dawned on
me what you were saying.
Yeah, it took me a minute too. Yeah, we're there. This show brought about legit and profound shit in my thinking, and I'm very gracious for the tools to see things through a different lens. Exactly. What's said about class sparked thoughts about how the native Maori in New Zealand are seen back home and how the crown system fucked them royale. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how you can apply this to almost every country? The same scenario.
It's a system.
The same system. That's right. That's absolutely right. And Black Lives Matter is in the UK. It's in the Netherlands. It's all over the world. It's not the same problem, but it's the same system being applied. Sending you guys a cosmic love offering from Lockdown. Give me a Mo Karma, and if acceptable, a Barry Obama Take That to the Bank hip-hop version. Do we have that?
I don't think we do.
Maybe that's something that I'm unaware of. Take that. Let me just see. You never know. Sometimes strange things happen. Take That to the Bank. I don't think there ever was a hip-hop version of it that we had.
You can take that to the bank.
I got that part. So, no. If you have it, send it to me, because it's definitely something I need. Also, call out my brother, Harry Keller Tate. Yes, we have a special jingle for you, Harry Kelly Tate.
Ew, you're a deadbeat.
First time we used it. Nice, feels good. Shame on you. By the way, this is about $76 in dollary dues. Yes, I got it. Thank you.
We recognize the dollar. Whatever's your dollar is our dollar.
Right. So that actually means that he came in as an executive producer, since he probably put $100 dollary dues.
No, I actually put him at 76. That's he's actually
right. No, I understand.
Value, whatever you donated. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but it would have been 100 Australian dollars.
No, I think he gave us 76 Australian dollars, and it was lower.
I see what you did.
I always get whatever value you donate.
Oh, okay.
That's your value.
Good. Oh, that's nice. That's fantastic. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so that's we just say that is the value. It's good because that's the way it's going to go, and we all have to work with Bitcoin and Satoshi. So it's good to learn that. The apocalypse is coming. You're going to need a Bitcoin. Did he need anything else here? Was there some other... Yeah, Mo Karma. Make sure we do that, Mo Karma.
We didn't have his hip-hop version, but...
You've got...
Mo Karma.
What's that?
We have a new jingle, but we didn't have his hip-hop version, so maybe give him Amazing.
Oh, yeah, hold on a second. I got the Amazing and the others.
Amazing!
I'm building up a whole system here. This is so good. I love building up this show. It's so much fun. All right, on with our next associate executive producer, KR. What do you think doing a roundtable discussion on Joe Rogan's show that analyzes the stats and history of racial issues? I can think of a few experts and personalities, including you guys, that would be interesting to assemble for such a discussion. I'm concerned that too many November voters will be voting based on incorrect stats and incorrect history. You guys have the decency, power, and talent to ease racial tensions and educate America without pushing any particular political goals or preferred politicians. If this doesn't sound like a lame idea, finer details of the proposal are in my email sent on August 31st. KR, Thank you very much. And here's my thoughts on it, and then Mo can let us know what he thinks. So first of all, I love the Malcolm X quote. It's going to take one white man and one black man to sit down across the table. He doesn't say a group of white men, black. No, this is it. This is the core.
This is it.
This is it. This is the core of this. The mission. If there was any mission, and I love Dr. King with I've seen the mountaintop. Then judge not a man by the color of skin, but by his character. But this is where we got to do the stuff. So Hotep Jesus is another example of this. Different. But what's interesting here is we don't talk about necessarily the issues of the day, but how we got here. And that's what's so cool about it. That's the whole point.
Yeah. How do we get, we're peeling back the layer, leaf by leaf, layer by layer to get how we got here. And as you said before, it's a one-on-one thing. It's not one size fit all. You have to get to know the person. How can you judge them by the content of the character if you don't know their character?
Exactly. Or their background or where they're coming from. Just where they're coming from. Thanks, KR. Another associate executive producer donation. Of course, these are from over 2 weeks, and it's so appreciated that you've carried us over. So it's a little bit long. We've broken it up into 2 segments. And we are at Joseph Divaniero, who got $75 as well. Mo and Adam was catching up on old episodes. Episode 9, One Drop was the title of that. Reminded me of a colorism experience I saw while working in New York. 2 women I worked with were black and had a darker skin tone. I remember one of them would always make fun of Drake and how he and his music were light skinned. Also, when either of them would excessively complain or whine, the other would tell them to stop acting light skinned. I appreciate all you guys have taught me so far. Found the show at episode 37. Can't wait for what's in store for the rest of the back catalog. I thank you guys for keeping my amygdala small and all the intentional misinformation from the M5M. I don't know if this is possible. I'd like to start the petition to get Mo on an agenda of Rogan. Would love to see this conversation Mo and Joe would have. But let me tell you, my mission is to get Mo to that level and far beyond. So I'm not targeting any way. I think if we do our work and we expose what we're doing and producers do their work and expose and propagate, let people know about it, everything's going to fall into place exactly the way it should. You want to respond to the light skin acting thing?
Just another form of the racial war.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're going to find out the racial war is really a civil war. You don't really have a lot of interracial war going on. It's really intraracial.
Intraracial,
yes. With an A, yes.
Exactly. David Roll.
So that's just another example of it. That's just another example of colorism.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And it's everywhere. It's in so many communities. 75 associate executive producership for David Roll. 66 for Curtis Collins. Much love from Jen and Kurt. Love the show. Doing the work. Saves us from the killer vaccine. Kanye King 2024. And Adam, let's get a Swamp Thing ISO, please. Rock and roll. Oh, my goodness. That's pretty bad. Okay, let's see if I... Do I have the Swamp Thing? I don't think I have. I do have that. What is this?
I'm Blotto.
I have the Blotto. The Blotto.
I was really Blotto.
Is that it? What is this? Maybe this is it.
Adam Curry.
Is this it?
You see, I know you're not real, man, because I'm loaded, okay? I've had some experience in that area. Besides, that whole rap of yours is bull anyway. Good, evil, it's all the same crap. Rock and roll's the only thing that counts, dig? Hard ass, blistering, awesome, heavy metal, rock and roll.
That was from my huge acting career as Nathan, the rock god on Swamp Thing.
And just a little Mo inside baseball. Swamp Thing scared the crap out of me as a kid.
I can traumatize you with my episode. It's so good.
Man, that thing creeped me out.
Oh, man. Thank you very much, Curtis. $60 from Drake Biscardi from the Davis Dragon in the name of his smoking hot wife, Amy. It's a family affair. Revolving donation to come soon. Let us know how. Yes, that is getting done. This show is worth a hell of a lot more than the damn Netflix donation I give every month. Oh, man, thank you, Drake. It's appreciated. Sarah Gardner, $56. Open my eyes, Mo. And belated birthday to Adam. Thank you. We've got Timothy Pierce. Love you too. Reside. Keep making the word flesh. Okay, 55.55.
Indeed.
Yes. And we have another anonymous donation, 53.34. Mo, I've been very impressed with the work you and Mr. Curry put into the show. It is very thorough and eye-opening as to the race, class, and gender divide that is U.S.-based. As we know now, it's not just all U.S.-based. Much of it is eminently transferable to other shores. That's right. I certainly noticed some crossover in Britain, but our problems are also different in subtle ways. I would like to plug Akala's book, Natives, for those who want to understand the UK imperialism. He is also an excellent speaker on many subjects and is worth following. Being this is donated in sterling, I have no idea what the conversion of the donated amount will end up at, but Mr. Curry will be pleased to hear that a proportion of this is provided by a value-for-value guitar lesson I did under lockdown. And we're both pleased with that. Anyway, I've sent you a very long email that was inspired by episode 9, the subject that is ever present but not oft discussed in most all British media, let alone elsewhere. I will outline here just a teaser, which is Welsh, not typically, which is N-O-T, I guess. The knot was a piece of wood, a ruler or stick, which was often inscribed with the letters W-N. This was given to the first pupil to be heard speaking Welsh. When another child was heard using Welsh, the knot, N-O-T, was taken from its current holder and given to the latest offender. Whoever was in possession of the knot was encouraged to pass it on to any of their Welsh-speaking classmates by informing the teacher they had caught someone else speaking Welsh. The pupil in possession at the end of the day was subjected to corporal punishment or other penalty. Man, the mind control is strong. This is crazy. Keep doing the work. Let me say something. About the Welsh who live in Wales. When I was flying in the UK, I had a flight instructor, and flight pilots, and he would go with me more as a safety pilot because he knew the area. Which I like having a safety pilot who knows the area and has been like an airline transportation pilot. And he says, the one thing you got to know here in the United Kingdom, in Britain, what's that? If you need to make an emergency landing anywhere but Wales. So that mind control has kept on going through generations with that kind of stuff. Keep doing the work. I look forward to throwing more money your way when I have the resources. Jingle-wise, a good Mo Karma will be appreciated. Okay. All right, so I will make sure that, let me just say here. And we have an anonymous... Hold on a second. Okay, let me just set some... And we're going to continue. $53 from Andrew J. Well, I should probably wrap that last one up. And thank you again so much, Anonymous. Andrew J. Giannettio, who is another Ronamo listener. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. G-Man, the security guy, 53. Thank you so much. Eric Hokel, our buddy from Deutschland. No note, but 52 Deutschmarks, euros. Thank you so much, Eric. 5150, which, as we know, is the code for take them away with the white suits. Harvey Smith, Mo, great education. Thank you. And then our $50 donors, also the associate executive producers for episode 48. Cassidy Eastwood, no note. Garlene Copeland, this show is a life cast, not a podcast. Mo and Adam break it down for all to understand, yet enjoy. My favorite episodes were 44, 50, 45, and 46. It is a set. You could have this set of the presidents in a handsome leather-bound box. This is my first time.
Oh, no. In a renewable, reusable tote to carry your vegan kale.
With your bamboo straw.
Right.
Not condemning, just laughing at you. This is my first time donating, Garlene says, $50 on my way to be a lady or a duchess. Well, we'll have new names here, but we look forward to that. We'll have something for you for sure. Keep up the excellent work, guys. I'd like a Mo Karma for all. Of course, we got that for you.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Just want to make sure I got a Mo Karma for our anonymous previously, so I can't remember if I did that.
You've got.
There we go.
Mo Karma.
So much administration. Kenneth Barnhouse. Not always what I think, but always makes me think. Thank you, Kenneth. That's very nice the way you said that. Lindsay Heitman, $50. And Mo and Adam, thank you for talking about the mental health shaming of Kanye. As someone with mental health problems, watching that play out in the media reinforced every negative stereotype I've had of myself. Side note, there's research that shows people with some mental health issues make better crisis leaders. So Kanye just might be, quote, the lunatic we're looking for. And she has a link. And there is some evidence, Psychology Today. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Hopefully my donation made it through PayPal. Yes, it did. Thank you so much, Lindsay. We really appreciate that. I'm going to make this note here so we get that in there. And this is so much today. We got a couple more associate executive producers. Colin Howard, Mo and Adam, thank you for all the eye-opening, paradigm-shifting discussions and deep dives into racial topics that are never touched on by the boule-dominated MSM. You are truly doing the work in showing how incomplete our national conversation on black and race issues has been. Lootsafe.org. Yeah, this is great. Lootsafe.org, LOOTSAFE.org, has created a new platform to address those who chant people over property as a way to rationalize looting and rioting. Instead of sitting on the sidelines and faux virtue signaling, lootsafe.org provides a resource for privileged noodle boys and girls to put their money where their mouth is and boost their social morality enhancement, or SME, in the process. SME is the answer to, I'm doing the ad for him. SME is the answer to resolving guilt associated with privilege and is boosted exponentially with each successive loot space owner achievement. You've got to see this. You have to see lootsafe.org. It is so funny. You can rent out your apartment or your office for people to loot. So, you actually, you're walking the talk. And as a bonus, we've registered GucciReparations.com in honor of the humor. That's one thing. If you stop shaming us, Americans have great senses of humor, and it's a healing power when we throw our humor smack down, is my opinion. So, as a bonus, he's registered GucciReparations.com in honor of the fearless Chicago BLM leader's statement regarding the looting there, and it is now forwarding to MoeFactz.com. Thanks for all you do. Mo Karma is all we need for the jingles. Thank you very much, you guys. Hilarious.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Point made. TinyEmpire.com, $50. The civil war between white people is what some call, quote, a struggle between the classes. Yes, exactly what it is. David Drake, $50. Mo and Adam, this is my second donation. I literally wait anxiously for every episode. The work you put into these episodes and the outcome is entertaining and informative. He opened my eyes to Malcolm X, so I started reading his biography from Manning Marable. You could say I'm doing the work, but doing it my way. Keep it up. Beautiful. Beautiful, David. Thank you. Lawrence Wittinitz. Thank you, guys, for doing this show. I've learned so much and enjoyed the last episode about wasps. My dad tried to hit me in the mouth with No Agenda and Moe Factz last fall, but only Moe Factz stuck at the time. I've not missed an episode since. Thank you so much for all the value you've put out. I love listening from Madrid. Thank you, Lauren, and we love that you are listening from Madrid. Eric Tolbert, also $50, donating for my fantastic wife, Miss Mercy. She's one of your biggest fans and turned me on to your show. Keep up the great work. Eric, the Mad Farmer. Thank you, Eric. William Taylor, $50, also an associate executive producer, of course. Hig Hawker says, thank you for the education. Kathleen Bacchus, $50, been learning since March lockdown. Please keep it up. From Lacey, Washington, only 150 miles from beautiful downtown Portlandia. And that's from Kathleen. Maria, your podcast is great listening on a road trip. Thank you for your support, Maria. Susan, $50, apparently loves show 47. John Taylor, $50, would like a woosah. A goat. We'll add it. Ed Siemens, $50. Thank you so much. And those are our associate and executive producers, executive producers for episode 48 of Moe Factz with Adam Curry. We will be back with more people who came in under the $50 level. But first, a reminder that you can support us by going to mofactz.com or directly to the donation page at mofundme.com, MOEFUNDME.com.
Now we have to get into the mindset and the system that we referred to earlier that's being played on so-called black people. So there's this very popular YouTuber called Days of Noah, and he speaks about this phenomenon in Reliving 2016 and Jacob Blake.
Let's break down the confabulations here. First and foremost, in order for blacks to have a respected voice, we must demonstrate a balanced and unconditional concern for our community. As a group, it has miserably failed at this required step. How? Well, let's focus on the word unconditional. We seem to only have rage against injustice under specific conditions. These are if a non-black or white action violates a black body, though we by habit tend to ignore when we violate our own. There is a curse of enmity between us spiritually, and an engineered psychological trauma induced systemically. But that life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. See, blacks have become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Blackness is bought and sold as a product. Generationally, our culture has been and continues to be formulated through the establishment media machine. And visuals of cops killing blacks is just part of the psychological traumatization, which in turn produces a black victimhood and perpetuates a state of generational victimization.
I think I've seen this guy. Maybe the Twitter algo threw me that or something. Tell me again what the YouTube channel. I want to make sure we have that in the show notes.
Days of Noah. This is DAYZ of Noah. It's NOAH.
Okay.
Very, very deep brother. Has a master's degree in sociology. That doesn't matter what his credentials are, but just to make sure people take him seriously. Because when you say YouTuber, that smacks of a certain.
Yeah, it's only a little better than podcaster.
Right. So they want to put you in a box, but you have some very serious people, as you're going to hear later in this episode, on YouTube making a case for the young black male and the black male in general.
Yes.
And as he stated in here, the only time, as I was alluding to before, the only time it really matters is when somebody of non-black descent kills a black person. So we have to be unconditional with this. So now we're getting to the portion of the show where, what about black on black crime? Because I mean, that is coming from people like him, myself, that are serious about having that conversation, not using it as a tool of deflection. We really have to look at what's going on here. So he broke it down. He was like that. Basically, the trauma feeds into making us victims. The victimhood feeds into devaluing our life, and then it results into a devalued life sees another person as devalued life, like we saw in Juice, saying, I'm not it. You know what I'm saying? You're less than me, so I can take you out at any time. That's the cycle. And this is why you see over and over again young black men callously taking other young black men's lives. So, I mean, it is a realization, and we spotted the system. Now it's just bringing attention to this system that's been identified. So now speaking of Juice, he makes a reference to that as well in this next clip.
Oh, but you blacks keep killing other blacks. Why don't you ever address that? We hear that all the time. Though this is true, and one of my personal arguments as well, I understand why, and this why is rarely addressed. So let's address it. Let's put this argument to bed for good. with 3 words: pathological generational desensitization. See, through generations of socially pitting blacks against blacks through pigmentation, class, and phenotype, a self-hatred is psychologically created. If you hate yourself, you will hate your brother and your sister. In addition to this internal abuse, externally, blacks have become desensitized to killing other blacks through a strategic and ubiquitous debased death culture, a culture of death, where murder and intracultural conflict is glorified. If you got the juice, you get the respect.
Yeah. Jeez.
And he, as he said, it's a generational thing. It's it's constant generational desensitization.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words because here we are. You have young black men dying in the street. No one really cares except for how they can extract it and use it for currency to push their own narrative and causes.
If they died in the right way.
And exactly. And as he said, as the producer wrote in the letter, you hear people say, "Oh, you're light-skinned, you're acting light-skinned." So you have all these different fractures and battling points. You're light-skinned, you're dark-skinned, you're acting dark-skinned, black is ugly. This is within the race. We haven't even stepped outside and start talking about interracial relationships. This is all intra. And this is what devalues devalues black life in itself. And if you notice, Black Lives Matter doesn't say black people matter or black men matter. It's black lives. Lives is a product now. It's a product. It's just like MLK or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's, how does it impact black lives? I mean, no, how does it impact humans, people, but they want to dehumanize them for their own purposes. And like I said, we'll get to that later.
It's a very
shortly, but
it's
later.
A very sophisticated productization.
Yeah, because who are we talking about when we say lives? I mean, you could. We even heard them say when they talk about what they're trying to change at their tech talks a while back in a few shows. I mean, like early on in the making of the show, they went off on global warming and all these other things, but never said black men. Never. And I know I'm harping on black men.
No. But I want thank you again, because that's something that's so bothersome about Black Lives Matter. It is actually a degenerative generalization. Black people would have, of course, that somehow would be racist, I'm sure. But they'd never, it's dehumanized by saying, because what are the other, it's like so many lives were lost on the good ship Titanic. It's like it doesn't really personalize it in any way.
And what it also does when they say Black Lives Matter, you can move the goalpost. Because, we brought you, it's like what's it called? The lost leader? Yes. Black men are the lost leader. Yes. Like, it gets you through the door. It's like, come on in. Now let's talk about trans lives and let's talk about how global warming affects people of color and, all these, it's like it gets you in the door and you can shift what lives mean. When you talk about.
That's a very important point. That's a very important point.
Because
and
they don't want to
staring you right in the
their
face.
Business model is,
but shit stares you right in the face. You never think about it.
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's what's so frustrating for black men. It's like, do y'all not understand? But now, when it starts to affect other demographics, people start realizing, like, wow, or we start to get a voice, because what happened is here. Before, with the boule, they could pick who they want to talk for us.
Right.
But now when you bring up this topic of black on black crime and death of black men and those things of that nature, you have people like Days of Noah, other gentlemen that we played on this show, even myself, say, no. You're not going to control the narrative about us. We're going to control this narrative. That's what caused the political fraction in the Democratic Party or the black voting Democrats, because black men say, no, if it doesn't address us, we're not for it. Usually they just tell us to shut up and vote. I mean, you heard people say those literal words, shut up and vote.
Yep.
But now we're saying no, unless it addresses us, unless it's tangible, unless you have a tangible way you can drive down the number of lives lost, we'll take it from here. We'll talk for ourselves.
I think it's lives. It's lives saved or created, I believe is the term.
Oh, that like jobs.
Yeah.
Jobs.
Lives saved or created. Yes. That's how politicians measure stuff. Yeah. That is good. But just so you know, and of course you know, but I want to reiterate it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So black men are saying, why don't they see what's going on? Because we literally didn't. Because we're all wrapped up in our own shit, obviously.
And in all fairness, the people doing the speaking inside those rooms were not allies to us, black men.
No, of course not.
Even though they shared the same pigment and melanin in their skin, it's like we're gonna forward our agenda first. We have an opportunity here, and just to foreshadow a little bit, we saw this with the VP selection. It wasn't about stopping black men getting killed. It was like we want a black female president.
That's it.
Vice president. Excuse me. But we'll get there. But let's let Days of Noah finish up speaking on creating culture.
See, decades upon decades of this type of detrimental programming has rendered the black culture into a zealous Ouroboros, taking pride in eating its own tail. This is why it's so easy for blacks to kill blacks and not feel injustice. Because for decades, black-on-black conflict has been justified through establishment-controlled media, major motion pictures, and the music industry. We can always refer back to our studies on Plato, our studies on Aldous Huxley, and many others, and their focus on how music alone has a spiritual power and can literally condition the spirit and the mind through sound and melody. These things aren't to be debated. This is why the music industry is so heavily utilized to socially engineer the public and create culture single-handedly.
He's good. That guy's good. I like him.
There you have it. They've used culture, or so-called culture. It's a very toxic, really it's a culture of death. And I want to say this, it's a cult of death. Let me correct that. Because Kali Ma, remember, thugs come from Thuggy.
Mm-hmm.
Thuggy comes from India, which was a cult that worshipped Kali Ma, which was the destroyer god or goddess, however you want to look at it. And this death cult continues on. Now you have black men calling themselves thugs, and they kill. They're a death cult because that's all they're taught through music, film. We addressed it here, Juice. Hip hop. We addressed all of this. But I know you people are saying, well, that's a YouTuber, Mo, and you're a YouTuber too. So let's go to the real serious people in the field. This next set of clips is from Tom Burrell. I don't know if you ever heard of him or not. I'm probably sure you have, but I'm not sure if you have.
I think, yes, I think so.
Big ad guy.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean, of course.
Yeah.
He is Thomas J. Burrell, the founder and chairman emeritus of Burrell Communications Group, one of the first black-owned and operated advertising firms in the country. Started in 1971 to target the African-American market, Burrell Communications has conducted advertising campaigns for such major brands as Marlboro, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Johnson Products, and Verizon, and helped revolutionize the image of African Americans in television advertising. He was inducted into the American Advertising Federation Hall of Fame in 2005, and since retiring from Burrell Communications, he has used the information he acquired during his 45 years in the advertising business to address some of the major challenges facing African Americans today.
Yes, I remember the agency Burrell McBain. That was the agency. That was this famous agency. And they were actually a competitor to my company at the time because we were with Omnicom, and they sold to Publicis. Yes, a legend in advertising.
Clio winner. He won a Clio, I think, back in the early 70s. With the McDonald's spot.
He sold McDonald's. He sold McDonald's. That's right. That's right. I remember that.
Which makes me look at him side eye. I mean, like, my Bouleo meter. You know what I'm saying? I got it all fired up.
Well, yeah.
We're gonna let him talk. I mean, but when I start to look into the Burrell advertisement, communications, they did an ad for McDonald's recently. It was called The Good Fight. And it said the spot featured a real life boxing coach and his daughter as he literally puts her through the paces with the message that better does not happen overnight. And it goes on down. It said it says, as a parallel, McDonald's took their classic chicken nuggets to the next level by taking out artificial flavors, colors, and preservatives. It says the spot also aired on the 2016 Olympics in Rio amidst the black girl magic. So here we have it. We can't have a black father and a black son going through the paces. I also question him like, okay, for 45 years, you sold these little nuggets with artificial flavoring and coloring in it. So I'm just saying, I got to be fair when I look at these people, but we're going to let him speak. And he has some valid points to make, one being on the false advertisement of race.
That's the topic of his new book, Brainwashed, Challenging the Myth of Black Inferiority, which was recently published by Smiley Books. Welcome.
Good to be here, Cheryl.
Tom, in your book, you try to answer a question that has bedeviled many people before you, which is, why do African Americans continue to lag behind other groups in so many aspects of American life? And your conclusion is an intriguing one, that a 400-year-old marketing campaign to promote white superiority and black inferiority has resulted in a deep-seated, internalized black inferiority complex that is keeping African Americans from achieving many of their goals. This is the brainwashing you're talking about in your book?
Yes. Cheryl, America has been sold a bill of goods through false advertising. The myth of black inferiority, the big lie, that there is an inherent inferiority that exists within a race of people. That is something that has been created in order to originally justify slavery within a democracy. And we see it borne out every day from morning till night throughout our media. Media is the major carrier of the message. The media is the messenger.
Ooh. Hey. Wait a minute. Is he flip-flopping now? What's he doing? He's like, hey, by the way, all that stuff I did, that was really bad, and someone else did it, I guess.
No, what? Okay, let me explain to him. Let me grab my boule cap back here.
Oh.
All right.
Put it on right.
My boule cap
you got it on right? Okay. All right. Wow, handsome.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you look so powerful.
Castle's right.
You look so powerful all of a sudden, Mr. Mobile.
Thank you. Thank you. What the boule tries to do here is, after 45 years of aiding and abetting the system that we spoke about, which, let's be honest here, white supremacy, as we define it on the show, the system. Mm-hmm. After 45 years of supporting, aiding, and abetting it, and even, as she said in his bio, revolutionizing how blacks are seen in advertisement. Now, I didn't say positive, negative, but he just revolutionized it. So
it's revolutionizing either way, sure.
Right. Either way, she didn't really say.
Hold on.
What they're trying to do now is
keep that boule hat on. Keep the boule hat on.
Yeah. So what I have to do is say this. See, Adam, my children don't suffer from the black inferiority complex. You see here. So I want to point out they're different than those common black folks.
Oh, okay. I got it.
And so I had to do this sweet little trick here where I won't point back to the history of the television to now. I'll jump all the way back to slavery. You see, he's absolved himself of any responsibility.
Yes.
By saying, it's slavery. It's not, father not being in the home. We're selling you poisonous food, like with the Bliss Point, the sodas, music, television. No, it's not none of that, Adam. So I'll take my Boulay hat off. That's what he's trying to do.
Take your Boulay hat off, and I just came up with I'm a conspiracy therapist, so I'm analyzing the situation. Right. In 2013, Burrell Communications, so no longer Burrell McBain, but Burrell Communications launched Rising Tide, a aspirational social network for millennials, sponsored by Tide. And I know a little about Tide. I do. Ty Hamilton in college, my roommate, he taught me about Tide. So is it possible, though, that to flip the tables and just kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that he continued with the Tide account and created a covert campaign that featured dumb shit white kids eating Tide Pods? Do you think that could have been something he had up his sleeve?
I'll have to look into that. That's quite possible. But what took me when you said Rising Tides, remember that's the non-starter.
I know, isn't it beautiful?
Remember, that's the non-starter that,
right
but
there.
this is where they're antiquated. This goes to show you that their mindset is antiquated. It's not meant for the 21st century.
Right. Well, the guy is
but
also
what they have to do is go back and rewrite history, as we've seen with gunslingers and everything else. Yeah. It's like, no. It wasn't the Coca-Cola and Marlboros.
No, of course not.
All these things that we sold the black community is slavery. That's the problem.
He's Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it is a claim. Now, because people say, well, Mo, you're pro-reparation. That's because it's a legal claim there. What I'm saying is that, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I don't care how much people get upset, the narrative of slavery is just as dangerous as the act itself because it feeds into self-victimization.
It bombards us with images of carrying out this whole myth of black inferiority daily, hourly, by the minute, constantly reinforcing it in all these different ways that we talk about in the book. And these are the kinds of subtle images that we're constantly being bombarded with.
And basically, they've been effective, is what you're saying.
They have been. It is the most effective advertising campaign in the history of this country. The myth, selling the myth of blacks being inferior. And that's part of the brainwashing.
But that part is not necessarily coming from the white culture, isn't it? Isn't that coming from the black culture?
Well, the thing about brainwashing, Cheryl, is that once a principle of brainwashing is that the brain washed becomes the brain washer.
Becomes the brain washer. Okay.
Right. The hurt. The abused become the abuser. That is a natural component of brainwashing. Mm-hmm. And so in all these areas, we at some point in our history have taken on our own victimization. We take it over.
Yeah. Oh man, this guy not only he's still doing this. He still has a full-on agency that is driving change for social justice, inequality, and protecting our green spaces.
Right. But the self-victimization, like you said,
that's what does it.
It feeds itself.
Yeah. You can probably program it with some colors.
But isn't that what we call mind control?
Yes, MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. When we say these kind of things.
Yeah, it's totally mind control.
But we have somebody behind the curtain. Tom Burrell was in those rooms making those decisions on what images to show black people, what would resonate with black people. So he's part of the problem, but I now think with any Boulay member, they get a guilty conscience. They need to rewrite history. They get into that. We all do it when we get old. We want to right our wrongs, but at the same time, he doesn't want to take the responsibility for his actions. So they want to jump all the way back to slavery. Slavery it's always back to slavery. It's like, no, let's start with why from slavery to the 1950s did we thrive?
Well, he wants to
under systemic.
He wants to get away from it, his part of it, obviously.
Well, it's two things. One, he wants to get away from it, but also two, he doesn't want his children to bear the weight of blackness. You're going to come to find out a lot of people don't want to use and carry that term black anymore and what comes along with it. So you have the boule pulling away from the common black people or the ordinary black people. Then you have black women pulling away from black men like, oh, they're the problem. They're the ones really killing each other, not us. Let us in the whiteness.
Yeah.
And when I'm not talking about your everyday run the mill black women. I'm talking about that Coven that, you know what I'm saying, concocted, yo, we want a female vice president. That's what we really want. That's really going to show the change. They want to pull away from blackness. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And the rich want to pull away from blackness. And now all you have left is this subset of black men. It's like, oh yeah, let's use them. Let's kill themselves. It doesn't matter.
Still useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well,
so
it is so.
I know I'm laughing, but it's just like you gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh. But you know, so black Twitter, of course, I got gray Twitter. Man, we got to really examine some black advertising. Because I work with this guy's agencies, and you know I'll find out what account it was. We had some cross work somewhere. I had a pretty big company back in the 80s, 90s. But now we really, and I feel very responsible for some things, MTV for sure. But we got to look at what some of these because McDonald's. There's so much incredibly imagery.
But listen to the brands: Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
McDonald's, diabetes, hypertension. Marlboro, lung cancer. I think there was a alcohol company, and I'm not mistaken. I don't want to put that on if I'm not for sure. I'm just saying, but look at all these companies you advertise for. To what? To market to black people that lead to comorbidities, that leave us ripe for when a pandemic comes. This is what happens. So the blood is on your hands. I don't want to put this on you. It is what it is. And then you have the only way you can exist as a black man now in America is to be afraid of your life, be afraid for your life.
Check it out. Planned Parenthood is one of their clients. McDonald's, you're right. What is this? Seagram's Escapes.
Liquor. Cirrhosis of the liver.
Mm-hmm. Coca-Cola.
Alcoholism.
GlaxoSmithKline. That's the remedy to the shit you get from the other clients.
Exactly. So it's self-feeding.
But here it is. Infinity LGBTQ. Xfinity. Oh, Xfinity LGBTQ is a Comcast channel, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. It's fascinating. We need to do. This is going to be a 13-hour show. This is just too good. This stuff. Okay.
I don't mean to drag it out, but let's get into his take on studs and sluts.
Another area you talk about is relationships between black men and women and family dynamics.
Right.
Certainly relationships between black men and women are known to have been troubled.
Yes.
African Americans certainly have a lower marriage rate than any other group. We have a lack of stable families, which has a big impact on both black children and adults. You say that this is partly the result of popular culture, which promotes black men as brutes and black women as sluts, the Studs and Sluts campaign. So you fast forward 400 years, and this theme the Studs and Sluts theme seems to be carried out, certainly in the music videos, which are produced and acted in by black people.
Yes. And it's, it's really, I want to believe that it's not a malignant kind of intention. I believe that it's insensitive. We have been conditioned to victimize ourselves with the use of the N-word, denigrating misogyny, denigrating our women, killing each other. This is part of the conditioning that nobody wants to talk about.
Oh, Mo.
Yes.
Now I feel it. Now I see why. Yeah.
Woosah.
Woosah. Yeah. Woosah. And a goat. Damn. That blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Adam, one question. Do you know what the number one song in the country is right now, or was?
Yeah,
maybe a week ago?
I mean, what it was or what it WAP? You tell me, Mo.
And does that not align with the studs and sluts that's narrative?
Yes, Cardi B for anybody who was not hip like
and
me.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, Megan Thee Stallion.
Some of the vilest, and like I said, I'm not easy to make blush. But I finally heard it like on the radio. I'm like,
oh yeah, the lyrics. I mean, forget the video. The lyrics are. I mean, that's not just suggestive, and white girls will defend it,
and white presidential candidates will go talk to these people.
Bernie Sanders, you're right,
and Joe Biden.
You know what the when I called out a couple of my my favorite millennials, white girls, and I said, why is this okay? What they said back to me, fair enough, was we've been hearing the same crap from black men for years. Fair point.
Don't make it right.
No. Of course, two wrongs that makes everything right now in America. But yeah, it doesn't make it right. You're absolutely right.
And this is the point of women in society, the point that makes them so important, and the value, you know, they make us civil. As we talked about the Wild West, it was like, who had that fastest gun? You know, if it's there for the taking, we're going to take it. Women keep us civilized in a way.
Hopefully.
You know, they keep us from that caveman mentality.
Hopefully.
Because they say the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. So a mother teaches you, hey, don't take, say, be nice, say please, those kind of things. So if you're raised up in a WAP household, Jesus Christ, without a father, and do you wonder why?
Yeah.
But don't take my word for it. Listen to White Mike.
Now, in this time, I learned a lot of beautiful things about a lot of beautiful people. I learned a lot of ugly things about myself, and I learned a lot of dark things about the nation in which we live. But I also learned that I, being White Mike, specifically the white part, have a lot of power. White Mike has a question today, and that's this. How come when you turn on the radio in Jacksonville, or New Orleans, or Chicago, or Little Rock, the only people on the radio that talk about how great it is to kill each other are black? How come that exists? 15 stations on a dial, go up, go down. The only people on the radio bragging about getting automatic weapons, gunning each other down, are black. This right here is a song. My pastoral vocabulary won't let me read the title. But I will read this. Catch a young black male not paying attention at the red light with your AK-47. Let me see you shoot it. You're a killer, you're a killer, you're a killer. You're a killer black male. Let me see you prove it. Why does this exist?
Yeah, White Mike. I had not heard of White Mike. He looks pretty interesting.
So this is Reverend Michael Smith, and he's from the TEDx Jacksonville. He's a pastor. And he was the white guy in a predominantly black environment. So somehow White Mike is a thing in most black communities. There is a White Mike. I don't know what it is. I think it stems from the Wayans Brothers show, because they had a character called White Mike.
Right. Yeah. Of course. I remember that.
But I mean, he jokingly refers to himself as White Mike, because they were like, it was several Mikes in the church. And he was like, have you seen Mike? And they were like, who? And they didn't know his last name. They were like, White Mike. So it kind of stuck. But he brings up valid points. Why is it that this kind of vulgarity, I'm not even going to go there. This is another show for another day, the vulgarity and, you know, the sexualization, but the murder.
Yeah.
In one breath, and then you bring up a great point about young white females. How 1 minute they'll have Black Lives Matter on, you know, all on their TikTok.
Yeah.
And then the next minute they're dancing to Walk 'Em Down, which is a very popular song now, talking about how one black man walks down on another black man with the chopper. If you don't know what a chopper is, that's an AK-47. It's like, nah, drive-by's not good enough. You got to walk them down. They'll dance to that, do choreography to that, but then tell you Black Lives Matter. Are these people sick? I ask that in all seriousness.
Well, this of course started. Well, hip hop started nice and kind of like friendly, and it was a hip hop to the hibbit hip hop. You don't stop rocking. That it was like that,
right?
And then it just, I think because MTV, I'm trying to think if we didn't real gangster rap. It just seems it was kind of friendly.
It was, and late 80s. Well, no, it was friendly at first, jokingly. Will Smith,
right.
Adidas, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then Public Enemy comes along.
PE.
And then the black consciousness starts to bleed into it. And they're like, oh no, we can't have that.
Yeah.
We can't poison the well. And that's exactly what you had. And that's why you heard, I rung my bell when Burrell was talking. He was like, well, I don't want to think that it was, done out of intention. He didn't say that. I think I forgot the word he used, but basically implying that he didn't want to step on his record industry friends' toes. He knows it was done by design.
Isn't it interesting that you can't post something on Twitter about hydroxychloroquine because it might kill you, but you can certainly post a snippet from any of these music videos, where literally,
lean,
we're literally
lean.
People saying, "I'm going to kill this guy," actual killing.
I'm not. But let's just do a 1-to-1 correlation, because the people say, "Oh, well, that's not the same."
False equivalency.
You could easily post false equivalency. So you could easily post about drinking lean, which is prescription cough syrup. Nobody says anything. But if you talk about hydroxychloroquine, take him down. Take him down.
Yeah.
Take him down now.
Yeah.
But so White Mike brings up the question is, where are the killer whites?
I'll take it even further, because a lot of time racism exists in what we don't know and what we don't see. Where are the white killers on the radio? Where are the white AK-47 shooters? Where are the white drug dealers? Where are the white people on the radio that brag about what it's like to murder witnesses before trial? The truth is they don't exist. And the question is why? Why don't they exist? Do white people not kill people? Do white people not use AK-47s to shoot each other? I mean, we know, do white people not do drugs? Do they not deal drugs? Of course they do. But why is it that it doesn't make it to our mainstream radio? Why is it that we don't hear it hundreds of times a day in hundreds of cities across the nation, thousands of plays that say the idea that a black guy would kill another black guy is something to be celebrated, something to be romanticized?
Yeah, true that. True that.
And just to make one point, I'm White Mike's on a roll, so I don't want to stop him too much. I just want to make one valid point. Notice Eminem is the top, probably selling MC right now over Tupac. He didn't have the thug mentality.
No.
He rapped about killing his mom and taking prescription drugs. It's like, no, if he'd have rapped about that, Post Malone, let's just use, who's popular now.
Yeah.
He doesn't rap about that kind of stuff.
No. So right. So right. Pay attention, people. Pay attention. Jeez.
All right, thrill seekers.
And maybe it's because there's no white audience for it. Or maybe it's because it's not really marketable. Maybe because can't get sponsors. I don't know why it is. Or maybe it's because it's just not the white man's role. Or maybe when white people get up and talk about being drug dealers and AK-47 killers, maybe it's even sicker than that. Maybe when white people do it, they're accused of acting black. The truth is, in America, black murder is normal. Black murder is normal. The idea that a black man or a black woman would be involved in a homicide, either as a perpetrator or a victim, is so common, so broadly accepted that it basically goes unnoticed. The truth of the matter is, black families are affected by homicide at rates of 10 times their white counterparts. There will be more death in the form of homicide involving black people this year than any other form of violence that dominates our national conversation. More than school shootings, mall shootings, mass shootings, workplace shootings, lovers' trysts that turn violent and bloody, even more than in war and in terrorism. No one will lose their life at greater numbers than black Americans involved in violence. Black murder in our country is not only common, it's not only frequent, but it's an idea that we celebrate. It's an idea that we say is okay. We actually make heroes out of the notion, heroes out of people that trivialize and romanticize it. Now, every time I show this information, people always say, well, if the number 3 cause of death for white males, what is the number 1 cause of death? And without fail, year after year, it's called unintentional injuries, accidents, falling off a four-wheeler, or crashing a go-kart, or bungee jumping without paying attention to, knots and things like that. And so basically, the American story is white kids are dying because they're clumsy, and black kids are dying because they're gunned down.
How old is this clip?
I think this is in 2017, 16, I think somewhere around there.
Because
it's TEDx.
Just because we're looking at, how media influences our thinking, etc. And it may be a little different. I'm not sure. I just want to put a little side note that fentanyl and opioid OD, I think, is certainly positioned in the media as a white person's problem.
It is, but it's not.
No, of course.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but yeah, it is, but it's not. But then they also, just a side tangent on that. People will say, oh, well, they don't want to prosecute white people. No, they don't want to prosecute the white doctors that come from, upper class. That's what it is. I mean, if it was crank or meth or whatever, they'll lock everybody up. But it's like, if you start talking about locking people up for prescription drugs, a lot of WASP are going to jail. So it's like, nah, we don't want to go down that route. But I want to make one point. He pointed out the accidental deaths, the bungee jumping, the ATV four-wheelers. I'm sure skateboarding's up there, X Games, behavior. That's thrill-seeking behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Young men, pushing the boundaries. Oh, I won't die. I mean, we have this, we have this arrogance when we're young that you can't die. So, you push it to the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it the young black male can't have the same mentality? It's a game to a lot of them. A lot of these kids are not sociopaths. It's a game.
It's
a aha.
Shall I tell you? Yes. I'm going to tell you something. I'm sorry. No, it's a bad habit. I'll tell you. It's like I'm trying to kick that. Lots of people have that one. Because we've seen more shootings on TV, I know what you're talking about because I see these kids, I'll just call them kids. I see these men, mainly men, and they got the Glock 9 with a huge magazine hanging out of that thing. And then, like pom-pom, and they're shooting sideways. I'm like, and a lot of it misses. A lot of it is just ridiculous. I hate to say, but it's like cowboys and Indians, but with live ammo. And
but it's LARPing too.
It's LARPing, but it is also a thrill seeking. Yeah, it's a very, very, very unsafe way of thrill seeking. But yeah,
it's part different of it. Mechanisms. It's different mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have one kid that goes down a 50-foot ramp. On a skateboard.
Right. And then
could probably break his neck, or they have an MTV show that shows clip after clip after clip, kids getting their arm broke, teeth knocked out.
They have entire movies of white kids doing this.
Right. So what I'm saying is, say it's the same behavior, but the behavior manifests itself in a different way of, let's play this live action role play game of thugging.
Yeah.
I'll pop shots your way, you pop shots my way, but then it escalates to what we talked about before. It gets on the wire.
Mm-hmm.
That so-and-so punked so-and-so.
Then it gets serious. Yeah.
Or you interact with a super predator or a thug. These things do exist.
Yeah. No, of course. But unfortunately, sometimes you'll see that some spectator got injured at at some kind of skateboarding competition or a motorsport event, but you rarely hear about the baby in the crib at 3 a.m. who got killed at the skateboarding event. So that's why, of course, it appears different. But I'm gonna agree with you that for young men, happens to be their thrill, which we should probably try and stop some of that.
Yeah, and I want to keep going, but you brought this up, so I had to. I was debated about talking about it on the show. but I was in another part of Virginia meeting someone, and I walked into a Wawa, and I'm like, okay. I see 2 young black males, and they were young. I mean, you could tell they were young. Pants sagging, tight jeans on, with big ass pistols. I mean, not even concealed, just hanging out. And so I'm like, the talk that my dad had, you know what I'm saying? This is what I mean. I had to tell the story just for the talk. So I'm like, okay, let me keep my eye on these 2. You know what I'm saying? Because if shots start to pop off, I need to know where they're coming from, and I need to know where my nearest exit is. I mean, it automatically just goes, you just trigger in. So I'm getting my sandwich from Wawa.
I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with Wawa.
It's like a gas station, which has like a Subway built into it, basically.
Okay. I got you.
But it's like, as you're going to find in quote unquote black communities, certain convenience stores are the hot spot. That's where you hear a lot of crime. If I'm waiting to get a drop on somebody, I know they got to come buy beer or blunts or cigarettes. So I'll just wait here. God. No, I'm telling you the psychology of it.
Yeah, I got you.
So I'm sitting here, I'm like, these boys can't be 21. I mean, baby face with big ass guns. And so I hear a ruckus at the door, and I'm like, okay. I'm sliding to the other exit. I'm like, I'm about to roll out without my sandwich. But it was this guy named Nick. I know Nick names now because Nick, he's like, what are y'all doing out here like this? He's like, you know what I'm saying? What, you gonna be like your brother? Big black guy, muscular. You know what I'm saying? He's like, y'all out here playing these games. He's counseling these black kids. Football coach, works at the correctional facilities. And I'm like, after they leave, I'm like, wow, bro, that was what's up right there.
That's great.
I got Nick's number, so I'm going to be talking to Nick down the line. But I just want to give that example.
That's cool.
Of they don't even care no more. Like the guns were just like out, like, but it was like Wild Wild West. I mean, that's what like wow, like this is like real Wild Wild West. It blew my mind, but I just want to give that that anecdote because it's real. It is real out here, and but I mean, I digress. But I'm sorry about that. But
no, thank you. That's stories are great. Damn.
All right, so let's get back to on track with number 27.
Now, we don't have Mammy Two Shoes today. You can't get away with it. Nobody would put it out there. But we do have black people that get on the radio every day in white-owned companies, white-owned stations with white-owned sponsors that play the role of hypersexualized, hypercriminalized male. I asked these advertisers, I say, I've got hundreds of songs a day that celebrate killing animals. Will you put them on your station? They said, no. I got hundreds of songs a day that talk about assaulting women and abusing kids. Would you put them on your station? They said, no. I said, I got hundreds of songs a day that talk about murdering blacks. Would you put them on your stations? They said, well, that depends. Depends on what? Who it's done by and who it's branded for. Because if we can get black folks to sing about it and we can brand it for our youngest black audiences, I think there's money to be made. I think there's American appetites to see these people that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it went. I can't even say nothing else. That's how it went. I wasn't invited to that meeting.
That's so sick.
That's
so sick.
I'm sure you've read the story about a music business insider who claims that all of this was predetermined, all the gangster rap, all the violence was all set in motion by design.
I'm a believer of that.
I'm a
one
believer.
Meeting.
No,
but
of course not.
But a series of meetings,
and people need to,
nudges, that kind of thing.
Well, I just want to say, because it's so hard for people to believe that the media actually is controlled and has a message that is determined, created or determined. It's determined and is intended to be sent down the line. And having worked in many, big mainstream broadcast organizations, including the one that was definitely a part of this, do I think that anyone I really knew or interacted with knew about some part of this big plan? No. But it was, hey, they want you to do this or that. Who's they? I don't know. Up the suits up at the office. And you become desensitized to it. You do. I mean, I became desensitized to all kinds of stuff. And certainly selling alcohol to a lot of children. That was a big part of my job indirectly.
And we talked about this, the higher ups. when we were talking about COVID. You know, do this, put them on the ventilator. Who told you to do this? The higher ups. You know, so it's not like everybody that worked at MTV or everybody that worked at Philip Morris or these other cigarette companies were complicit. You know, I mean, it's not. It's very just stay. So basically, when you build a cartel, it has to be compartmentalized.
Yes.
Where everybody doesn't know everything. It's like, just do your job and trust the system.
Exactly.
So
trust the system. It's true. But it works. But broadcast television works that way. And I'm not even saying that people up at the office really had the whole scoop on it. Lots of influences in the music business. Lots of stuff happening. You know, you hear about how sex and drugs and blackmail, all that stuff, all of it happens.
So it's being unveiled now. It's being unveiled
because of so much media. I mean, now because of YouTube and because of because of cameras, phones, handheld devices. Now I'm seeing, and you show me enough street brawls of people shooting at each other. I'm like, this is and I'm old enough. This is a bunch of damn kids, and they're playing, but it's real. But your point, going back to the start of it, was not necessarily hardcore criminals, not little yummies. It's a bunch of dipshits with live ammo. And
live
that's a
ammo
generalization.
Live ammo and low self-esteem is a deadly combination. It's a very, very deadly combination.
That is so good. What is it? Live ammo
and low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. That's so good. That's better than underinformed and over-socialized. It's the white version.
All right, so I guess we can wrap up with Michael Smith, a.k.a. White Mike, with 28.
I said, how can you say that? They said, well, look, it's what these artists know. It's what they, black people, create. It's, matter of fact, our surveys say it's what they want to hear, which speaks of a sickness. How do we live in a society where somebody says, you know what, I'm inspired to write a song that celebrates murdering another person. And then a person says, I'd like to put that on my station. Another person said, I'd like to pay for it. And then there's people out here in the audience that go, I'd love to hear it, as long as it's black guys. Because even white people buy rap music, buy this type of stuff, because we know that when we want to hear about killing each other, we know who to turn to for that type of inspiration. We call it our music. We say we own it. White people buy more rap than black people. Yeah, but we're very careful to turn it down at the stoplight when other black people are there. Why? Because we know we're just pretending. For them, it's more authentic and real. I always ask the companies, what about your name? What about your brand? What about your value? And the largest radio company in the world said this: it's okay that we only have drug dealers on our black youth stations. We only have murders on our black youth stations. We support black charities. We give out water at the Martin Luther King parade. I think we've got it covered. We've bought them off.
It never ceases to amaze me how you can take what I think I already know about how the world functions, particularly the United States, and blow my mind again by showing me, oh, by the way, this is how big it really is. This is the real system in place. This is not systemic racism. This is systemic death machine that's just churning all day. And it's too big for us really to see right in front of our face.
You had to take a huge step back. Really, you got to get on a perch and like survey it from bird's eye view to see the whole system.
It's all a big... To what end, though? It's ultimately control of control of all of us. I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to what end.
Come on, Mo. What is this all about?
Now that black on black crime has become such a hot button issue, the people that had to have answers for it want to say it's a myth now.
Oh, okay.
There actually is no such thing as black on black crime. That's what's so fascinating to me, and I think why people continue to respond negatively to that phrase, because it doesn't exist. It's a myth, right? Like, if you actually look at the statistics, all violent crimes, the majority of violent crimes in this country statistically happen intra-racially, right? Because you actually have to look at what inspires crime, and the majority of them happen with people who know one another or in close proximity and in communication, in community with one another. So this idea that there's something uniquely pathological about black people and the way that they commit crimes that is different than the way white people commit crimes is flat out inaccurate and racist.
It's a myth. Well, it's a myth. And go ahead.
Well, no, it's kind of interesting because on the one hand, of course it's happening. On the other hand, is it any, it's like saying white guys aren't hurting each other and themselves on skateboards. It's clearly happening. It's just calling, but and you just said, well, they're not necessarily criminal. So is this killing a crime, or is just black on black killing? There's a difference.
I'm gonna explain to you how they're putting this in themselves into a human pretzel to get around this black on black crime issue. They'll say, well, black people harm other black people at the same rate. What I mean by rate percentage, so 90% of the crimes against black people are done by black people. Well, they'll go to white people and say, well, 90% of the crimes done by white people are done by white people. Proximity. But we're not talking about the percentage of who the victim and who the
not at all.
Assailant is. We're talking about the volume. For us to only be 13% of the population and black men only 6.5%, the volume of black death is ridiculous. But see, they don't want to talk about that because if you ask that question, then you got to ask who's been running Baltimore, Chicago, Louisiana, Miami, all these different places. And then it goes back. It's about politics at the end of the day. So now the black Democrats and their flunkies have to work themselves out and under this pin down called black on black crime. So it's a myth. It's a myth. They kill themselves.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Because that's why they don't want black men talking about it. Because when we talk about it, we're going to say, well, who's been in control for the last few, decades? How did it get to this? No, it's like, no, it's a myth. It's a myth. And that's why they want to pivot to cops. It's like, the cops are bad. We don't want to talk about black on black crime anymore. It's a myth. And she's not the only. That was from HLN.
I was just going to say, who was that? Who was that on HLN?
I don't know her name. She was a black Lives Matter activist, but I didn't. They didn't show her name, and I looked it up but couldn't find it. But not only her, we have D.L. Hughley saying the same thing.
Every crime committed in the United States of America is 2-to-1, black to white, white to black. They actually more white on white crime than black on black crime. But when you call it black on black crime, that gives them marching orders. That gives them a call to arms. So now they can come and brutalize because there's a sense of urgency. You'll hear black people saying, black on black crime. That doesn't exist. If it exists, there has to be Asian on Asian crime. Or Latin on Latin crime.
Absolutely.
The crime is about proximity. You hurt the ones you love because you're close to them. If you take any living organism and you put it in a small space with limited resources, it will kill anything around it. Black on black crime is nothing but it's biology. That shit is happening on your lawn right now with the weeds in the grass, fighting for resources. But you believe that you're inferior because they tell you it's a such thing as black on black crime.
You see the trick they're playing? But guess who D.L. Hughley works for? A major radio company. I'm sure that they peddle in black smut music.
Smut music.
Snuff music. Snuff.
Oh, snuff music. Yes,
excuse me.
Yes.
Well, it could be smut too. It depends on who's doing the singing. But
I like snuff.
Yeah, it's black snuff music. I mean, and he won't call it out because then he has to call out his sponsors and the record labels and all that. So now, and then the politicians, like, where are y'all at when it's going on? So now it's like, it doesn't exist. No, I want to break down the math right quick. He says 2 out of every 3 crimes, or 2-to-1, is white to black. So for every 3 crimes, two are done by white people, one are done by black people. We're only 13% of the population. I mean, I know a little bit about math to tell you that's way out of proportion.
Calling it snuff songs is a very good idea. If you say snuff film, people freak the fuck out. That's a snuff film. If you say it's a snuff song, they say, what the hell is that? Well, what do you think of when snuff flick? Well, that's really yes. That's snuff songs. Go listen to it. I just wanted to say we need to use that or something like it. Snuff is a great word.
Yeah.
It triggers people. It could be useful.
I'll make a note of that because that's exactly what it is. That's what comes to mind. Like I said, that's what comes to mind when I hear it. Now, not saying that I don't enjoy rap music, but I have a mature enough mind and I had a 2-parent household that wouldn't tolerate it. So obviously it told me something's not right about it, but you know what? It's still enjoyable. But it was still the balance there to say, hey, there's something not right about it because I got to listen to my Walkman and not in the car with my mom and dad.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's that balance there.
Why can't you like Lionel Richie? He's such a nice young man. Did I nail it?
Yeah. But Lionel Richie. But yeah, that's what it is. And I know I've been building up to this, and we're going to get to what the root of the problem is. But first, we got to continue to thank more value for value producers.
I understand that there's some people out there who need my services. Yes, Lord. Are there any people out there who are weak? Yes. Any people out there who are weary? Yes. Any people out there who are tired? Yes. Any people out there who just need a healing? Yes. Y'all got cash? Yes. Well, then come on down.
All right, time to thank the rest of our producers for episode number 48 of Moe Factz with Adam Curry. We always love the Crooked Reverend kicking off a donation segment. And again, we're going to read out some of your notes and names here, and this is, well, I'll explain value for value in case you haven't at the end of the segment. Rudolph Duff is next. 4825, and he says, guys, excellent show as always. I've been looking for a show that honestly discusses race-related issues. The added value that having two different races speaking about the subject is amazing. I live in the Northern Virginia area. Hope there's a meetup there soon. Please de-douche me. Well, we don't de-douche, we de-deadbeat.
Congratulations. You're no longer a deadbeat.
Thank you for supporting us, Rudolph. Mrs. King's Art Camp, 4825. Am I missing something on the 4825s, Mo?
No, I was wondering, maybe show 48.
Show 48?
I'm not sure.
Well, I think these 48s and 4825s should be they should be show numbers for sure. Moe Factz is the best podcast out there. Thank you for your wisdom in these uncertain times. Keep up the great work, says Ellen King. Dorothy Schroet, $48, making my way through old episodes while waiting for the new. Looking forward to 48. Here you are. And I guess that is a show episode donation. No note from Nicholas Ray, but $45 from Nicholas. Thank you. Betty Solero, $40. Thanks, Mo and Adam. She says, I sent 40 via PayPal. Please know, I wish I could add another zero on that donation to truly represent the value I have found in your podcast. Let me just say, before I read on, value for value is exactly what you're talking about. That's for the $40 is clearly huge value for you. That's good for us. That is exactly what it is. No more is necessary. Thank you. That is how it works, and that's what makes it so fair and great. The last Killer Wasp podcast episode, ultimately the most frightening. Malcolm X would have been proud to hear the discussion the black man was having with the white man. Almost forgot. Mo Karma, please.
You've got
Mo Karma.
That's very meaningful. Thank you, Betty. That's very nice of you to say that. Connor Lawrence, 3535, Love and Light, gents. Hope you're all doing well. Mo, how is the new human/canine resource? Mo?
Oh, Morocco's doing great. He's doing great.
Wait, Morocco?
Yes.
I thought his name was Rocco. It's Morocco.
It's short for, we call him Rocco, but his actual name on his paperwork is Morocco.
Okay. No, yes, paperwork. Very nice. Also, Mo, what's your thoughts on the new round of NBA protests? Is that something for a whole show by itself, maybe?
What do you mean by protests? You mean
Not playing?
The players?
Yeah, I think so.
Not playing and then playing when they're told to play. That was a sucker move. If you're not gonna play, don't play.
Right.
I mean, they embarrass themselves. I think.
I agree. I think they hurt. I think they hurt the whole game.
That's the short answer.
Yeah. Connor goes on. Adam, happy freaking birthday, good sir. Thank you. Might I request some Mo Karma for you on your birthday? Does Mo Karma speak now? Birthday. As I pray and wish this year is a great one for you, my friend. Thank you. And if possible, can I get a little goat woosa for myself and Elisa? Keep up the fabulous work, guys. I'm truly blessed to hear your work, and I can't wait to hear where the rabbit hole has taken Mo. Be well and be with God. With love and reverence, your friend Connor. Thank you so much, buddy.
You've got
Mo Connor.
Chuck Barnett, 3333. Thank you both for the outstanding content and enlightenment. Can't tell how many times I've hit the rewind button after wait, what moment? While listening to episodes 44 and 45, puzzled together many disjointed thoughts for me. I finally had to donate. Like Adam, I am a 1964 borderline boomer music business dad with 2 ex-wives and a happy third. Crap, man, are you living my shadow life? Between a dozen years of no agenda, he's a monthly subscriber, thank you, and now Moe Factz, I can say my life and amygdala are pretty balanced. Mo Karma for everybody. Chuck B, man, thank you so much. That is a great note. I appreciate it. And I identify with it.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Jacob Harvey, 3333. Thank you both for this conversation. I don't hear it from anyone else. No, I don't think you do. We have Katie, who also sent us 3333. Dear Mo and Adam, 6 months ago, I was one of the underinformed, over-socialized millennials that Adam often refers to. In all honesty, I probably still am, but this show is... No, I don't think so. This show has helped me to begin opening my eyes and thinking for myself. I just finished catching up on every single episode, and I can't thank you enough for what you do each week. Also, shout out to my mentor, Eric, for introducing me to the show. Can we get some Mo Karma for a productive and successful semester? Yes, absolutely. And let us know who this Eric is. Eric is doing some work. So we like that.
Definitely doing the work. Definitely doing the work.
We love hearing that. Thank you very much and appreciate the support.
You've got
Mo Karma.
Chef Elvis up next. Elvis Rosenberg, 3333. No note, but not needed. We know all about you, Chef. Thank you. Jonathan Ashcraft, 3330. Killer Wasps, GBG. Your shows have been very illuminating. Thank you. I am no longer a DB. Well, in that case...
Congratulations. You're no longer a deadbeat.
I love those. Matthew Zeiser, $25. Mo and Adam, great show. Thank you for the work. Keep it up. More to come. Karma for all.
You've got
Mo Karma.
$25 from Pascal Silly. Matt Baja, $25. You are doing the Lord's work, Mo. You and Dan Carlin are the only factual, informational podcasts out there. Oh, no, it's quite a compliment. Bob Klein, $25. My brothers, Mo and Adam, I so very much appreciate what you do. I wish I could give more. Thanks for the vaccine episode. You guys and RFK Jr. keep my head together. We do have a chance against the imposed cultural degradation. Peace, says Bob. Sakisha Flood, $25. Thank you. Clinton, 23. Good call on crackers versus mayonnaise. What? Is there something I missed about crackers and mayonnaise?
I think he's talking about the racial civil war. I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. Crackers versus mayonnaise. Good call indeed. I said that to Rogan, too. That's how I started my buddy Mo. He says this is a white guy civil war. He's stepping back. I said, okay. Nice. It was the crackers versus mayonnaise war. Pierce, LLC, take that and all, 2222, thank you. Paul E. Lovato, blessings to all, $20.02. Nice palindrome. Michael Silk, $20. Paul Rothwell, $20. Hey, Mo and Adam, would love to hear Mo's take on This Is America by Childish Gambino. Keep up the great work. Wow, it kind of does fit in this episode. That video was it was intended
dramatic?
to.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, it was kind of traumatic. Very traumatic. I guess that's enough said, right?
Yes, it's plenty.
Mo and I sometimes just send a link and the letters TBE. That's all we need to say. Trauma-based entertainment. Shirley Fife, $20. Many thanks for doing the work. Enjoy the show. Lots of insights and new perspectives. America is like an alien planet from my home in Northern Ireland and completely fascinating. Sadly, it has started to resemble the Hunger Games lately, and I worry for you all. Peace and love. Shirley, we'll be okay. America's gone through a lot of crazy stuff. I will say I'm quite impressed by what I saw in Ireland of the lockdown protests. So there is something we can learn from y'all, and that is, and I appreciate the note and the support. Michael Myers, $20. Bobby Flush, $20, says thanks for the education. And then let me see, what do we have here? Jeffrey Lunt, 1776 is his donation. Message received. I could use a dead beating.
Congratulations. You're no longer a deadbeat.
Also wondering if this will alleviate me of any white guilt. Well, no, of course not. The show will help you do that, and you will have white vigor of things that can be done. Thanks for all the information you provide. I wish I could donate more. No, you're doing exactly what you can, and we appreciate it. Sasha Wright, $15. Keep up the good work. Y'all are putting out great content. Thank you for all you do. God bless. Invaluable. This podcast is something all people should listen to. Thank you, Mo, for reaching out to Adam, and thank you, Adam, for bringing it into my family's life. It's not much, but here's some new money. Mo, keep casting. I love new money. We love new money. Mo, keep casting light on the lies that try to keep all Americans from coming together. Sir Psychomico. Nice note. Thank you very much. It's really, really kind of you. Now, did I combine two there accidentally? I did Sir Simico and I did Sasha Wright in the same. I'm not sure. It's confusing. Yes, she wound up with God bless. Okay, $10.33 from Patrick Stasiak in Saginaw, Michigan. Brian Quante, $10. Top notch. He says thank you. John Cornforth, 10. Scott Webb, 10. You and No Agenda are melting my brain. Good. That's the intent. Keep up the good work, says Baron Turner. And we have $10 from Cyrus Esau, William Hawthorne, $5, Andrew Caver, $5, Terry Keller, $4.11, actually twice, so $8.22. And winding up the road there is Robert O'Donnell. Great job again, $2.50. Thank you all so much for the value you have provided us here, especially because you waited so extra long for this show, and I think a delivery has been made. And we're not even done yet. This is usually after this segment is when my head blows off my shoulder. So I'm ready for that. This is
go and put down the tarp.
This is a value for value production, and the value we get from you is not just the donations; it's the notes. And these are very important to us, very dear, and we love sharing them. Keep them as short as you can. But when they're personal, it's very nice to share, and it's appreciated. Please consider us for the next episode. Support us by going to mofactz.com or directly to our donation page, mofundme.com, MOEFUNDME.com. And thank you again for supporting episode 48.
Well, this is the portion of the show that we get to discuss the gender war that's going on amongst so-called black people.
Okay.
And to set that up, we have to go back to show 38. It's a throwback clip. And this is from the Washington Post. And this is the black women from Black Ink. Let me make that clear. Telling Biden, you need black women voters.
Vice President Biden, you need us. You owe us.
I remember.
Black women are miracle workers.
We have been saving the Democratic Party since 1965. 2020 is no different.
Your only path to victory is through black women.
The voters who need to turn out, we know how to mobilize them. Our votes must not be taken for granted.
The following commitments will begin to show black voters that you are serious about us.
America needs a black woman vice president.
Candidates like Amy Klobuchar will not energize us. America needs a black woman Supreme Court justice.
Remember Anita Hill? We do.
America needs more in a comprehensive black agenda.
The rules are rigged against our communities.
Wow, who put that together?
This is the Washington Post, and it had
yes, I remember
the who's
now.
who.
Yeah.
It was Angela Rye, the lady from Black Votes Matter.
Yeah,
a lot of Boule, a lot of the Black Witch Coven in Hollywood,
the Boule Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah. So the reason why I had to set this up using this clip is they gained so much clout and leverage from the black dead body of George Floyd.
Yeah.
Every minute that cop's knee stayed on George Floyd's neck, their value and leveraging went up. And this is the grand acts they use from that leverage. Not criminal justice, not, killing black men, none of that. We want a female black president, vice president. What, you know what? It's a Freudian slip, but it might be accurate considering Joe Biden's condition. I think that's why I keep wanting to say it. I think, the truth wants to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Black female Supreme Court justice is black female this, black female that stuff. Now you're using the leverage of a dead black man on the street caught on film being brutally murdered, allegedly. I know for legal reasons we had to say things in a certain way. But every minute that knee stayed on that neck, their value went up, and they're like, we're gonna capitalize on this and go for the big ask. And that's what they came up with. Nothing contributing to the plight of black men, nothing contributing to the environments that cause what we've laid out as black on black crime. No, we want a black female vice president. That's what we want. Not even a black vice president. They didn't even go there. They were just like, we want a female.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is black women are becoming their own demographic, separate from black men.
And power base.
But they made one tiny miscalculation, their understanding of math. And it's the same one that's used on black crime. What do they say? Hey, we vote 95% of the voting black women vote democratically. Yeah, but you don't have the volume. You need the black male vote, the volume of votes to make action happen. And black men are saying, no. We're tired of being used. This is what you're witnessing right now. And I found an interesting clip from Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. This is another brother on YouTube, but he's a professor, very informative. And he coins this term. I've never heard it before. I looked all over. I never heard anybody else use it. So if you hear anybody else use it, we got to give this brother credit for it. And it's called the ConcuSurf.
So as you can see today, we're talking about the reality of black men's disposable role as ConcuSurfs. I've covered this in another show. The whole concept of ConcuSurfs is a bringing together of two basic ideas, the concubine and the serf. And this in many ways has to do with the social expectation of black men, both in the larger society, but more particularly within black America. The idea that black men are not only disposable, but their roles are to serve as sexual concubines as well as serfs. Right, who are really just designed to serve. You lift, bear that tote, so on and so forth. The disposability, right? So the idea of the ConcuSurf and how our lives and our deaths can be taken for granted. We don't talk as much about our lives because there's all kinds of contestation and shaming that goes on. We talk about what black men experience in their own community, right? But it's clearly evident in our deaths how we're perceived and how our deaths are often used for everybody's advancement but black men themselves. And one of the biggest indicators of that is how much policy has been developed in the last few decades to stem the tide of those deaths, right? Very little. And yet and still, the social expectations play on.
Wow. No, I have not heard ConcuSurf. Now, if you had to define ConcuSurf, how would you now define that?
Okay, so black men have two purposes for these class of people. Either we're used for sexual purposes. That's why, you know this stereotype, whether it's true or not. And then basically slaves. Do this, fix this, shut up, don't make any noise. Basically the underclass. We're the floor of the floor. I say that in all seriousness. And these black women you hope to use, like I said, the only value George Floyd could bring into this world is dying. That's it.
Yeah. Where does the concu come from?
Concubine.
From concubine, yeah.
And then serf.
Yeah, no.
From serf.
S-E-R-F. Yes, I got it.
Yes. So when he coined this term, this is what turned my whole show.
But just so people know, I'm sorry. I just want people to understand, because not everyone knows concubine. I just want to give you the dictionary.
Concubine is like a... Go ahead, please.
Well, it's a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives.
So that goes to the point that we're not good enough to be husbands.
Yeah.
But to be flaunted as sex. And there's this weird parallel between the white woman and the black man. We're kind of in the same position in our respective races. Because I told you, we live in a matriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
White society is a patriarchy. Black society is a matriarchy. So black men are expected to behave the same way as in, I'm generalizing here a lot, but the same docile, be quiet, the same way white women are expected to be or portrayed to be. You know, like they say white women, they're very submissive and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Black men are expected to be that counterpart on the black side. So that's where the ConcuServe comes from.
Got it. Wow.
So when I heard this clip, it illustrated and encapsulated everything I wanted to say. And I was like, you know what? I had the show done. I had the show ready. When I called you, I was like, ready to roll. And then I heard this and I was like, nope, got to tear it all the way down and build it back.
Left-hand turn.
It's far more important to have this. And I know people are saying, well, Mo, that's kind of far-fetched. What are you saying? What I'm saying is black men are used for sacrifice for other demographics to progress into whiteness.
Black men are used for sacrifice for other demographics to what?
Progress into whiteness. So these group of women, they're trying to get into whiteness. So it's like, yeah, we'll use the same way Democrats used to use black people. It's just internally now.
Wow.
They're welfare queens, they're blah, blah, blah. They're this, they're that, they're illiterate, poor black people, white Democrats used to do that. But now it's black women of black ink. Let me be clear, because there's a lot of sisters out here, they're allies. So and I want to point out, and if you look at our donation list, I think a lot of women get it.
Yes.
Because we have a very balanced support.
Yes, I agree.
So I want to make that clear. But what I'm saying is, it's very beneficial. Now it's like you hear them say, oh, we're the most educated demographic there is. Notice they separate themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's black men killing black men, and black men are the white men. Black men are the white people of black people. You hear these terms thrown out.
All we need now, all we need is to hear, well, you never seen black women kill black women, do you?
That is coming. It's coming. So I have Reverend Ian White Marr, and he speaks on the ritual sacrifice, Black Heritage Trail of NH.
So this lecture focuses on the ritual sacrifice of black men in particular, as an instrument for creating a cohesive and unified body of people called white. So in this development of the screen of racial contempt that I'm calling the first stage of sacrifice, while it certainly includes the murder of African Americans, it was the murder of their humanity in the eyes of European Americans that was sacrificed in the development of white identity. More than just debasement, it was the symbolic murder of their identities offered up in order to engender another identity. So René Girard writes, "The purpose of sacrifice is to restore the harmony to community, to reinforce the social fabric, and that the common denominator that exists behind all sacrifice is internal violence. And the dissensions, the rivalries, the jealousies, and the quarrels of the community by design are suppressed by sacrifice.
Damn.
So what they're saying is if enough black men are put on the altar to sacrifice, they're not just talking about physically murder, but the image, the stereotypes, all of that. If enough is put up there, it will bring harmony, because then they can say, oh, well, that's not us. We're not like them.
Right.
And as they progress into whiteness, what we've described whiteness to be is nothing but what the WASP set as the model for how the world should operate, aka white supremacy,
yes.
aka Western society.
Girard isolates three distinct bodies within the community: the model, the rival, and the ritual victim. And he sees within the community a driving function of competition and the potential for violence. So the model, in our case, the plantation elite or elite whites, are in possession of an object. They're in possession of something. In the political realm, we might think of this solely as capital, but if we think of it more broadly, they're really in possession of something called white, which stands for all sorts of things. Concepts of election, and purity, goodness, and providence. And I was doing research in the Widener Library at Harvard, and they had this book, and it had something like the 23 races of English people, which sounds surprising, right? But not really, right? It all feeds into that chain moving towards the elite model, the person who is holding the desirable quality at the top. Now, elites are able to generate allegiance, and they're able to generate disciples by making whiteness a desirable quality.
Oh. Hey, so do you think that there must be black women who are thinking, hold on a second, what's going on here? How come we're leaving all those men behind?
Yes, it is. But then you know what they're told?
Shut up.
Sister. How dare can't you not support your other sisters? And let's use Kamala Harris as a case study.
Mm-hmm.
How does she make her bones? Locking up black people.
Throwing black men in jail.
We heard on the last show or a couple shows ago, she locked up an innocent black man, had no evidence against him.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to show you, look at me, pick me. I can do it just as good as a white man can do.
Mm-hmm.
Or what's perceived of missing the actions of a white man. I mean, just saying by the standard of society.
Right, but she okay. Well, first of all, Kamala she identifies as black. Doesn't quite have the same history as a DOS woman.
Mm-hmm.
So have they just been hypnotized? Mind controlled?
It's and I told you at the very first show, it's ego.
It's just so hard to believe. It's horrible. Yeah.
It's not really. We talked about how Black Lives Matter founders have daddy issues.
Yeah.
A lot of these women, Kamala Harris has daddy issues.
Yeah.
As it's playing out in the media.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they're just latching onto this. I mean, it's dryly.
They have
some issues with men.
They have the same issues because of the same problems, only their issues manifest differently.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what it manifests is, you know what? I can use black bodies
to get ahead.
To get ahead. They're doing the exact same thing the founding fathers did when they created America. It wasn't that personal. It's like,
don't take
we got
it
all
personally.
these natural resources, all this land.
Don't take
we
it
need
personally.
somebody to work it, you know. And then they're saying the same thing. Well, we have all these black criminals. We might as well put them to good use. Let's get with the media, run it on the media.
Mm-hmm.
Make black men violent. Make black men the source and the bane of all the things that trouble us. Put them on the sacrificial altar. Slay them, and then we can have harmony.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. So,
all right, where do we stop at?
It can only go downhill from here. we striving for whiteness. Okay,
striving for whiteness. Okay, replacing the model.
Was created as a belief system on the desire of an object embodied by the plantation elites or by elites in general. And by model, it meant being closer to God. The rival, the second group that Girard speaks of, are the European American masses who try to possess this whiteness as an act of mimicry by desiring what the model desires, what the elites have. Because so much as I want it, they have power. Me wanting it gives them stature. Us Magazine, People Magazine, cultivate the culture of celebrity because it gives the system more power. Same with the Oscars, same with all that. Girard warns us that the desires of the rival, the second group, or the masses, will grow. The desire will grow until there is violence induced by that competition that's there. The nature of the system is that it wants us to desire, but it doesn't want us to go too far, because if we want it too much, eventually we will try to knock over, we will try to kill the model so that we can replace the model.
Ooh.
There's your riots.
Yes, there it is. There it is. We're past that phase, really. That phase
I'm just saying, but that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. And who do you have out in those groups? You have the feminists, you have the Marxists, you have the every other ethnic group, and they're all protesting on what? The back of the sacrificial black men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
But they want to replace the model. It's not that we want to create our own and create our own black community or own whatever fill in the blank community. It's that we want to be accepted and raised to the level of the model, which is white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant.
Elite.
Right. And the sick thing is, whiteness is their God.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of speechless. That's what you're hearing is me just, I just don't know what to say. Cause yes.
I was the same way. I mean, I had to process it because it's like, because at the end of the day, if you can identify as a woman first, as a gay first, as a trans first.
Oh, snap. That just hit hard. One of the most successful black men in show business is RuPaul.
Right, but they'll tell you I'm a gay black man.
No, I know.
What's that? Porter, he'll tell you that.
Billy Porter, he'll tell you that. I'm a gay, but they'll put that first. Gay first, black, and then man. Yeah. So we already know it's an attack on men, but I'm just saying that it's not that there's out of disdain for the model. It's that I want to emulate the model. Yes.
And to emulate it, I have to show you how well I can do what the model does. How well I could play inside the system. That's why you hear the Soros sisters. I coined that term to you a long time ago.
Yep.
The reason why I say that is these women want to illustrate to the powers that be, I can do the job just as good or even better than a white DA.
I think I even heard Dvorak use the term Soros. I think he said Soros sister. But he...
Yes, with ER.
I did hear it. Good work.
But that's what they're doing. Yeah. And then what do they have to do from there? They have to pick a victim.
So the system doesn't want us to go too far, so it needs to find a way to blow off steam through the process. They don't want to get rid of that intra-community violence, but they just want to deflect it before it reaches the doors of the elites. So to deflect the violence that ultimately arises out of the competition, there needs to be a ritual victim, which is the third group. Someone who is marginal within the community, who does not represent a real threat of reprisal, who can't attack the system back. The dangers in this society are projected onto that victim.
Now, who what was the guy's name again? Gerard? What was his first name?
Gerard. That's a historian that he's referring to. I can get you his name after the show. But the speaker is Reverend Ian White Marr.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's amazing. We have heard two men of the cloth, white men in the cloth, illustrating the black problem clearer than the people that's supposed to be speaking for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, yeah. How does that happen? Yeah.
It happens by design is how it happens.
Yes.
I mean, that's the punchline.
Yeah.
And I know people are saying, wow, Mo, that sounds crazy. What are you saying? So I'm saying, one, in the exoteric, politically, they're sacrificing black men, the image of black men. They say trans women are the victim of black men.
Yes.
Black women are the victim of black men. Black children are the victim of black men. Black men are the victim of black men. And the only way you can survive in this is if you are 6'8", 260-pound black man like LeBron James saying you're running around the street scared for your life. That's the only way you can function in society.
Well, I think you're doing pretty well as a podcaster. But I understand what you're saying. It gets deeper than that. Yeah, it gets deeper than that because no. You're gonna hurt me. You're gonna hurt me with something now, aren't you? This is always the end.
Yeah.
All right. Tarp is ready.
So right. I have a podcast that features Minister Brat, aka Bad News, and he speaks about the witchcraft and gangbanging.
I was dating a young lady in my neighborhood, and I come to find out that she used to have her grandmother, she stayed with her grandmother, people in caskets on the wall. And I would say, what's all these people in these caskets? And they say they just family members. One time her grandmother came home, and they started putting up black sheets on the wall, over the glass and over the window. I said, what they doing? They say they're going to have a seance, yet I want to stay. I said, no, I don't do seances. But I come to understand why my neighborhood was so cold. As I look back,
so physically cold. You feel like
physically cold,
right?
Remember you say I feel death. Death was it was a spirit of death in this neighborhood, and now I know why the grandmothers was witches. The grandmothers was doing seances. As I look back and do the inventory, I understand now why the grandmothers say you better go kill them boys. You better go get them. The grandmother was somebody get killed. Y'all better go kill them. Y'all better go get them.
Now, what type of witchcraft were they involved in?
Well, I just know seances.
Seances.
They was doing seances. These is grandmothers that we wave to, walk across the street, go to run to the store for, doing seances.
Now, would some of them go to church?
Almost all of them went to church.
Well, this is very disturbing.
And then you wonder why you hear cases of a woman lose 3-4 sons to gun violence. We really have to investigate those cases. There's a spiritual thing going on, a spiritual component of this. And I illustrated it way back in show 26 with a growing number of black women leaving the church for witchcraft.
Growing numbers of African-American women in Maryland and across the nation are leaving traditional church worship. All of them are in search of something else, a spiritual belief that connects them to their ancestors and where they can feel more empowered to control their own well-being. They have found it in ancient forms of spiritual contact. Some call it witchcraft, a term they accept and embrace. For most of us, this is how we worship, a tradition that predates us all. This, too, is an ancient art of worshiping, not to God the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, but to spirits and deities that span the oceans and date back to pre-slavery days in Africa. Are you, in fact, witches?
Whatever the situation calls for. So if you come to me with pleasantries, you being respectful, you'll get Glinda, the good witch of the suburbs. But if you come at me with negativity and meanness and disrespect, then you'll get Eveline, your worst nightmare.
Oh yeah, this was episode 26 for anybody who wants to get freaked out all over again.
And then I had an epiphany. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Well, I'll give you my epiphany afterwards.
Well, do you remember how old she was? The woman speaking at the end. She sounds so young.
These women are in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, they're millennials, right? Yeah.
And they picked it up when they left the church, went off to college, and learned in these universities.
Yeah.
But my epiphany was this.
Yes.
And people that know anything about hip hop will know this. Those same closets and basements that these women were doing seances in that Minister Bratt referred to are the same closets and basements that their grandchildren record hip hop music in.
It's spells. Spells.
But I'm saying, but those same spirits might be dwelling in those same spaces, because I know when we used to record, you had to do the basement, or you had to do like a old closet or something.
Oh, do we do theremin? Not really. It's
go ahead. I'm gonna need a theremin for this next sketch.
Oh, okay. We're winding it up here, people. I like that theory, Mo. I like that theory. That's a good one. Okay, what do we got now?
There's only one way to introduce this next guest, and people have been asking about him. And this is his first introduction to the Moe Factz podcast with Adam Curry. Bishop Larry Gators.
I am a type of a man that's been called by God to fully decapitate the system of the left. And what I want to talk to you about today, Brother Alex, and to your listeners all over the world, is this topic entitled The Coming Destruction of Black Lives Matter. Now, the three founders, Brother Alex, of Black Lives Matter, they are witches. Listen, I have no sympathy for the left. I am a contract killer for the Lord Jesus Christ. My responsibility is to cut the head off of not just Antifa, that is the military arm of Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives Matter is the propaganda arm of Antifa. So you have three witches who created this terrorist organization in 2013 following the death of Trayvon Martin. Alicia Garza, she is a member of Omega Phi Beta. Patrice Cullors, she is a member also of Omega Phi Beta. And Opa Tometi, she's of Nigerian descent. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, which means they're all a part, Brother Alex, of the Black Skulls and Bones.
Wait a minute, Mo. Whoa, get the tarp. Oh, my goodness. So they're putting spells on everybody. You got to explain.
They're working through the biggest spellcaster there is, the media.
Exactly.
Or the medium, what do you call witches? And no offense to witches out there, but what are witches called? Mediums.
It's important people understand this, because when we haven't gone off the rails all of a sudden, like, oh, well, this is it. It's witchcraft. That's the problem. No. It is truly a form of modern witchcraft. It truly is.
Yeah, especially when you factor in nocebo effect and you keep saying, this negative stuff, and then it presents itself. Notice as soon as they start talking about black cops shooting black people, more cops shoot black people. How does that work?
Well,
like on demand. It's like on demand.
Well, now, coming from an advertising perspective, that's actually how it works. If you show something over and over again, it's going to have an influence depending on how you show it, what music you show it with, how your cuts are made, how your shots are positioned. I have manipulated people's thinking in a not necessarily derogatory way, but I've created illusions, magic, illusions, right, witchcraft, spells on television that if anyone this is I've been doing this for maybe 15 years. You can find it on, I'm going to put it in the show notes. It's called the Zen TV Experiment. Have you ever heard of this, Mo?
No, I haven't, but I'm going to look it up as soon as we get over.
The Zen TV Experiment, it goes back to, I think this is from December, this is 2009. And I don't know if this is even the first time it just, and you should just do something. You can do it with the television or with your laptop, but it just gives you a couple of simple things to do. I'll show you. For instance, watch TV for 10 minutes and count the technical events. Technical events are, we've all seen TV cameras in banks and jewelry stores. A stationary video camera simply recording what's in front of it we'll call pure TV. Anything other than that is a technical event. A camera zoom, technical event. Someone's profile talking, suddenly you switch to another person responding, technical event. A car's driving down the road, you hear music playing, technical event. Count the number of times there's a cut, zoom, superposition, voiceover, appearance of words on the screen, fade in, fade out. All of those are technical events. They're magical. They are illusions. Call it that. Call it sorcery. So much of what we're seeing, particularly now with handheld cameras, direct, the way the media uses that type of video sources. Narratives are set on 8 seconds of a video shot from a window. This is all technical and broadcast sorcery.
And one final point I'd like to make is even the release of information. Like you said, it starts with the 8-second. Yeah. And then it bleeds out the full video, and then another angle of the video, and then another angle, and then the context of the video, those kind of things. So yeah, it's definitely, and these women work arm in arm with their sisters in the media.
Yes.
Oprah, Gayle, etc., fill in the blanks. And they create a narrative. And you saw it in full play with Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
You saw what they did to him in his death.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe didn't do nothing to nobody. I mean, and when he died, but look what they did.
Yeah, and
we got to take this. We got to take him down.
And they took
take him down.
And they took Snoop Dogg down a notch too, didn't they?
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Oh, and by the way, some sorcery and witchcraft I also believe is real. So not just technical events on television. I think you can probably conjure up bad energy wherever it's coming from. And that is,
I mean, I don't dispute that as well. I mean, I'm just saying that for the people that's a reach for them, just the controlling your mind control, brainwashing. Don't take my word for it. Take Burrell's word for it.
Right.
Tom Burrell.
Yep.
He's a master wizard.
He is. He's a grand wizard, to coin a phrase. Grand wizard at what he does. Mo, thank you so much. It is so enjoyable to do these shows, and because it enriches me as a human. Every show to me is like I get to catch up with my buddy. I like that so much, and I know it comes across on the show, and I know so many people get so much value. And of course, our pitch. If you got any value from it, just translate that into numbers. Add a note. Let us know how you feel, how it affected you. Try and keep it within the realm of broadcast length, because after all, we are creating technical sorcery here for you. And
counter sorcery.
That's right. It's white magic. Oh, what did I say? Oh my God. See how you get trapped in that kind of stuff. MoeFactz.com. Support us directly at MoeFundMe.com, our donation page. MoeFundMe.com. And Mo, thank you again. I can't wait for the next episode.
And as I always say, pay attention to everything and the truth will reveal itself.
The banana clip theory.
I can't believe I took it this far this time.
The banana clip theory.
I told myself I should be smart, and not blind.
The banana clip theory.
Bang, 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 down we went today. Lord, I think there's something
The banana clip theory.
Bang, 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 another bullet went astray. Another soul dead.
The banana clip theory.
I heard a gun the other day. It spoke to me and told me power was the only thing that we could lose. So don't be afraid to let it shower on them. If they ever run up at my door, it came with a red dot for a short shot and a silencer on the low. I had to stop, pause, and think about it while they gave me his resume. Told me no better way to protect myself in this world we live in. Cause they killing up women and children. The only way you survive in your mind is to stay strapped. So you act out. They'll call you soft if you back out. So you roll your window down and you black out. The next day they'll be back round. The banana clip theory.